Kumoja hapa mlima, sijui ati useme umepanda mlima. Sisi bado tunahitaji hata basic things, ile mahitaji ya lazima. Watu hawana maji, hawana chakula, barabara zetu ni mbovu, tuko na mahitaji mengi. Na sababu hiyo ndio sisi tuko kwa bottom up, kwa sababu tunajua serikali ya Hustler Nation inashughulikia wale watu wa chini.
While drumming support for the UDA party, Ruto asked Kenyans to avoid regional political parties whose main focus is to divide the country.
Now, a quick update is that Deputy President William Ruto will begin his 2-day visit of Kakamega and Vihiga. Today, as from 10 a.m., he will be in Lukuyani and Lugari, and tomorrow, Thursday, the 16th, he will be in Emuhaya and Vihiga constituencies. We'll be keeping tabs on what transpired, or rather transpires down there in Kakamega and Vihiga. Remember, what an update we have also on matters politics is that some persons allied to Wetangula there, Moses Wetangula, that is Eseli and Wamunyinyi, decamped and are now supporting Raila. What does this mean for the Oka journey, so to speak? Are they headed to Azimio la Umoja? We'll wait and see. As we say, a day in politics is quite a long time. Now, just to give you more details in regard to that, let us look at what has been making headlines in the political scene.
After failing to wrestle Ford Kenya from Moses Wetangula, Wafula Wamunyinyi has jumped ship to chart a separate political course towards the 2022 general election. Present to witness the birth of the Democratic Action Party of Kenya was Defense Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa and his agriculture counterpart Peter Munya.
Ninawatuma na salamu kwa ndugu yangu Musalia Mudavadi. Mumwambie akiendelea kusalia hapo katikati kwa Oka, Musalia atafanya musalie nje ya serikali.
Msidanganywe na mtu. Mimi nawaeleza tu, mimi najua natoka huko. Msidanganywe na mtu yeyote. Watu wa mlima saa hii wote wanarudi kwa Raila Amolo Odinga. Wote. Watu watashangaa, wale wanafikiria ati sasa wao ndio wenye mlima.
Kandunyi MP Wafula Wamunyinyi and his Tongareni counterpart Eseli Simiyu say the Democratic Action Party of Kenya will work with like-minded parties to forge alliances ahead of the 2022 polls.
Nilikuwa naangalia kama kuna kipengele chochote kwa hiyo katiba tunaruhusu sisi viongozi wa chama kufanya biashara ya minerals kama gold na oil.
The Democratic Action Party of Kenya shall field candidates for all positions except positions of president.
The lawmakers accused Wetangula of holding Ford Kenya at ransom. The leaders say they will rally the Western region behind a progressive political agenda.
We'll be keeping tabs on what is happening. Now, the High Court has suspended the vaccine mandate directive by the government, blocking Kenyans who had not been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 from accessing, in-person services from December 21st. Justice Anthony Mrima stopped the directive until the 4th of January, when the case will be heard and determined.
Mandatory. If you don't want service in the Ministry of Health, don't come. Nobody is saying that you must be vaccinated. No, absolutely not. All I am saying is that if you want to come to my office at Afya House and I've been fully vaccinated and you don't want to try the phone, kama unakula chupa ya whiskey, kwa nini usidungwe? Kama unaweza whiskey, hata hiyo vaccine utaweza. Usijali.
The recent directive by the government to deny in-person services to those not fully vaccinated starting from the 21st of December has been dealt a blow following its suspension by the High Court. Justice Anthony Mrima says the directive remains suspended until the 4th of January 2022 when the case will be heard. The petition was filed by Enoch Aura through his lawyer, with the petitioner arguing the 4 weeks window within which an excess of 20 million Kenyans were expected to comply with the directive was too short.
Kenya is a democratic society. If you want to go to court, you are free to go to court. But remember, even freedom is not absolute freedom.
The government aims to vaccinate 10 million people by the end of this year. According to the latest statistics from the ministry, 8.2 million people have so far been vaccinated against COVID-19. Out of this number, 4.9 million are partially vaccinated, while only 3.3 million are fully vaccinated.
More importantly, that all who are eligible get vaccinated, because science has proven that vaccination offers protection. So what else are we waiting for? We can be able to avert more stringent measures by us simply going for vaccination.
Well, that is raging our positivity rating as far as COVID-19 is concerned. As of yesterday, it was at 11%. That is according to the Ministry of Health. And also on a global front, according to the WHO, they say, that is Tedros Adhanom, says the Omicron is spreading at a rate we have not seen with any previous variant. We are concerned that people are dismissing Omicron as mild. Surely we have learned by now that we underestimate this virus at our peril. That is quoting the World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom there, and says that 77 countries have now reported cases of Omicron, and the reality is that Omicron is probably in most countries, even if it hasn't been detected yet. So the onus is on you to continue taking care of yourself. The Ministry of Health has embarked on an immunization campaign to mitigate the decline in the uptake of immunization and life-saving vaccines across the country. The drive, dubbed Periodic Intensification Routine Immunization, targets children under 5 for the measles, rubella vaccine and adolescents for the human papillomavirus vaccine against cancer, or rather cervical cancer.
While the Ministry of Health targets to vaccinate 1.5 million children under 5 against vaccine-preventable diseases such as measles, polio and pneumonia, the target every year falls short of 300,000 children, mostly being those who never get the second dose of measles, rubella.
And if you look at the cumulative effect of that, I think we have close to 1.6 million children who are unvaccinated. And that is a time bomb waiting to explode.
This is common in arid and semi-arid areas, rural and informal settlements. The ministry is also falling short of its target of vaccinating at least 70% of 700,000 girls aged 10 to 14 against the human papillomavirus every year.
HPV was negatively affected by COVID-19 pandemic because you see the age group targeted 10 to 14 were in school, and when schools were closed, the coverage dropped from more than 57% to just about 37%.
In a move to catch up on the lost numbers, the government has rolled out a 100-day rapid result initiative through the National Vaccines and Immunization Program.
We said, Linda, kila mtoto hakikisha wamekamilisha chanjo zote. So chanjo zote HPV, dose 1 and 2, chanjo zote from BCG to measles, rubella 2.
At least 90% of children under 5 are targeted for the life-saving vaccines. The Rapid Result Initiative exercise will run till the 10th of February 2022. Meanwhile, NHIF Beneficiary Management Head of Department Wambugu Kariuki has said that they are on course towards universal health coverage in the country.
We are already coming up with the mechanism through the review of the NHIF Act so that the informal sector can also be able to come on board, and then every Kenyan, the 12.1 million households will be on board and they'll be able to seek the healthcare services.
He spoke during the commemoration of the Universal Healthcare Day Tuesday at a Nairobi hotel.
Kenya Nutritionist and Dietitians Institute has decried low numbers of nutritionists available in the country, serving over 45 million persons. The institute says there's need to bridge this gap by encouraging many qualified Kenyans to venture into the field. Remember, you can get further details on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Now on to Martha's Graft, where Chief Justice Martha Koome has called on newly appointed commissioners of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to serve with integrity and accountability in their new capacity as per the law. The Chief Justice, who spoke during a swearing-in ceremony of new commissioners, Colonel retired Alfred Mshimba and Dr. Monica Njiro, said that the war on graft was a collective battle and responsibility calls for everyone's participation.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has two new commissioners. Retired Colonel Alfred Mshimba and Dr. Monica Njiro took the oath of office at the Supreme Court before Chief Justice Martha Koome and promised to serve to their level best.
I, Colonel Retired Alfred Mshimba.
I, Monica Wajiro Moiro, Doctor.
The two replaced Dr. Dabar Maalim and Rose Masharia, who resigned in September this year.
Having been appointed a member to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission,
do swear that I will at all times obey.
Chief Justice Martha Koome, who presided over the short ceremony, called on the new commissioners to live by the oath of office they have taken as they begin their new assignment.
We Kenyans expect that you work towards the realization of us becoming an accountable society. Corruption should not be fought just by the commission. It is the responsibility of all of us, because everybody wants justice, everybody wants fairness, everybody wants equity, everybody wants to receive services.
EACC Chairman Archbishop Eliud Wabukala challenged the new appointees to take the one graft at a higher level but within the law.
In the recent past, corruption and unethical conduct in the public sector has received immense attention. Besides the media headlines, the public outcry has been overwhelming. This therefore calls for due attention and concerted efforts and contribution for all of us in the fight against corruption.
This even as Nyandaro members of County Assembly and two other officers from the County Executive were summoned by the EACC as it embarks on investigations into the possible loss of over 600 million shillings county funds. The MCAs allegedly received monies to refurbish their offices, and another amount that was handed over to 12 nominated MCAs allegedly for community social responsibility at the height of COVID-19 pandemic during the same period.
The news desk is also going to be following up on what happened in Kiambu County, actually Ruaka, where police gunned down two suspected robbers and recovered a pistol and 5 bullets. Further details will be revealed as we get what was happening. And was there someone else involved in this particular planned heist, so to speak? So we'll be giving you details of that as we proceed with our subsequent bulletins. Now, the government has launched a livestock offtake program to provide farmers with a soft landing during the prevailing dry spell. The state has set aside 40 million shillings that will be used by the Kenya Meat Commission to buy livestock from drought-stricken farmers in Kwale County.
At least 26,000 people in Kwale County have been affected by the current drought, with limited food, water and pasture for their livestock.
Maeneo ambayo yameathirika zaidi ni katika eneo za kule Silaloni. Ilikuwa ni mbaya zaidi, manake kule kuna uhaba wa maji, kuna uhaba wa nyasi ya mifugo.
To help minimize losses and provide them with some financial muscle, the government is buying off their livestock and turning it into aid.
Kila mfugo itakuwa inauzwa kwa shilingi 15,000. Kwa hivyo kwa jumla itakuwa ni shilingi milioni 40 ambayo itakuwa inazunguka hapa Kwale. Na hiyo nyama vile nimesema ni kwamba serikali itanunua ng'ombe alafu wanachinja. Kisha baada kuchinja hiyo nyama inaenda wapi? Inarudi kwa jamii. Kuna wakulima kwa kweli wamepoteza ng'ombe wao. Lakini sio kwamba mradi haukuwepo, ni kwamba hawakutaka kupena ng'ombe wao kwa wakati unaofaa. Kwa hivyo kile tunasema hivi sasa, licha kuwa kuna target ya ng'ombe 2,600 hapa Kwale, huenda hata wasifike kiasi hicho. Maana lazima na wakulima wafanya nini? Wakubali kuleta ng'ombe wao wakachukuliwe. Wanapogoma basi itakuwa ni vigumu sana serikali kuweza kulazimisha.
Some 370 households in Kwale County have been identified and will be supported under the recently launched cash transfer program.
Itawezekana kwamba unapokea 2,000 kwa inua jamii, tena unapokea 5,000, unapokea 3,000 ya pesa ya bala njaa. Hapana. Iwapo unapokea 2,000 basi itakuwa ni hiyo 2,000. Iwapo unapokea 3,000 basi itakuwa ni 3,000. Nia ya serikali hapa tunaposonga mbele ni kwamba kuweza kuinua ile hela 2,000 baadaye uchumi unapojijenga ili iwe ni bora zaidi kuliko 2,000.
Juni Karisa Mbele from Mombasa County.
Now, there's a new sheriff in town, so to speak, where Pope Francis appointed Reverend Mark Kadima as Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Bungoma. Bishop-elect Kadima will be taking over from Reverend Norman Kingor, who was transferred to the Catholic Diocese of Machakos mid this year. Kadima was ordained priest for the Catholic Diocese of Kakamega on the 2nd of October in 1993. And until his appointment, Kadima was serving as a Vatican's charge of the Apostolic Nuncio in South Sudan. That the current positivity rate for the country stands at 11% after 331 COVID cases were reported yesterday. Remember that also the WHO has warned that Omicron is not a variant that we should take lightly as a globe, saying that more than 77 countries have already detected the variant there that seemingly is spreading faster than all the other variants that we have dealt with. Now we cross over to the counties where Migori County residents have been asked to volunteer information on sexual offenders in the community to help curb increasing cases of sexual harassment in the area. And in Kajiado, Central MP Elijah Memusi has asked ODM leadership not to dish out party nominations to newcomers wishing to ride on the party euphoria, noting that all indications point to the handing over of the gubernatorial ticket to incumbent Joseph Olelenko.
The Deputy County Commissioner for Northwest, Andrew Mwiti, said citizens were free to apprehend and hand over to the police any suspects of GBV. The public has been warned not to be afraid to report sexual harassment, as the government is working to protect all prominent witnesses through the Witness Protection Agency.
Ukipata mtu ambaye anapiga mama, unatakiwa uchukue hatua, uweze kumshika na umpeleke police station. Mtu yeyote yako na haki sasa ya kuzuia dhuluma dhidi ya mama na watoto.
Elsewhere in Kilifi, the United Green Movement Party is pledging an ambitious program of planting trees in the run-up to the August 2022 general election. UGM Secretary General Hamisa Zaja says the party seeks to focus on the environment and the agriculture sector to empower the people economically.
Miti ni moja kati ya solution, na United Green Movement hapa Kenya imeapa kushirikiana na serikali kuhakikisha kwamba tumepanda miti kwa wingi sana, kuhakikisha kwamba ile asilimia 15 kutoka 10 mpaka 15 ambao iliahidiwa na serikali tumeweza kuitimiza kufikia mwaka ujao.
And in Laikipia North Member of Parliament Sarah Lekorere has called for proper women empowerment programs especially for those from pastoral communities. The MP says there was dire need to motivate and encourage the women on the importance of shunning outdated traditions in order to enable them actively participate on positive issues geared towards uplifting their living standards.
Kama kina mama, na mimi naomba idara zote husika za serikali wajaribu kujishughulisha sana, hasa kuhakikisha kwamba wamama wamepewa nguvu waweze kustawi katika biashara na pia katika elimu ya wasichana.
Finally, Kajiado Central MP Elijah Memusi has warned ODM leadership against dishing out Kajiado gubernatorial ticket to party newcomers wishing to ride on the party euphoria. Speaking in a political rally at Dalale Jutuk Ward, the ODM legislature noted that all interested candidates must be given an equal chance to jostle for the party ticket.
Azimio la umoja ni kuwaruhusu wote waingie ndani ya chama ambayo sasa tunasema ni Azimio, lakini sio mtu wako nje aje alete furugu ndani ya chama. Hiyo hatutakubali.
Speak matters business where fuel prices remain unchanged for the next 30 days after the government utilized cash from the Petroleum Development Levy to subsidize prices. Now, without the subsidy, the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority says a litre of super petrol would have increased by 18 shillings and 32 cents. Diesel would have been costlier by 21 shillings and 89 cents, while kerosene would have increased by 23 shillings and 53 cents. This means Nairobi, without the subsidy, a litre of super petrol would have retailed at 148 shillings and 48 cents, diesel at 132 shillings and 49 cents, while kerosene would have cost you 127 shillings and 7 cents. EPRA says this month the shilling weakened by 1.1% against the dollar, while the landed cost of super petrol increased by 3.59%, diesel at 6.98%, while kerosene increased by 15.78%. Thanks to the subsidy from the Petroleum Development Levy, palm prices are unchanged, as was the case last month. Agriculture, the National Cereals and Produce Board, says it might increase the buying price of maize depending on the market price. The board is in the process of replenishing stocks in its commercial arm and has increased its maize buying price by 350 shillings to 2,700 shillings in efforts to attract more farmers.
Cereals and Produce Board says the 700,000 50-kilogram bags of maize it had in its commercial wing from the previous harvest has been depleted and in the process of replenishing their stocks. The board now says it has been forced to increase the buying price of maize from 2,350 shillings to 2,700 shillings to attract farmers, but might be forced to increase the prices due to market forces. Earlier this month, NCPB Managing Director Joseph Kimote said they had planned to purchase over 500,000 50 kg bags of maize as the strategic reserves were running empty. The National Cereals and Produce Board has told the National Assembly that it needed slightly over 10 billion shillings from the National Treasury to restock the reserves in light of the drought that has affected maize production in parts of the country. Part of the cash will go towards purchasing of 3 million bags of food commodities and improvement of digital services to enhance the warehouse receipt system. The board says it will not put a timeline on the current maize purchase exercise as it seeks to mop up excess maize from the current harvest in a bid to bolster its commercial wing.
On to matters sports. Kenyans showed the prowess in the ongoing Africa Schools Individual Chess Championships, which entered the third day in Nairobi. Manyeki Nathiel showed a splendid performance and bet his compatriot Namusai Raymond, while Muirore Don humbled Zach Oundo of Tanzania.
Today became the third day of the Africa Schools Individual Chess Championship, with majority of Kenyan players registering wins. Among the winners of Team Kenya are Manyeki Nathaniel, who beat his compatriot Namusei Raymond, Kamoni Elsie, who claimed a win against Kaburo Winnie, while Morege John humbled compatriot Harry Kags. Muiruri Don emerged victorious against Zako Undo of Tanzania.
Through my experience, I've learned that you have to have patience, and I'm here to win the tournament.
While Elizabeth Kasidi beat Wamboi Bunnies.
Performance was good. We are playing 2 games. We have already played the first round, and I played all my best. I got to be the winner, and it was a very tough game.
Shah Devasri of Kenya will be going to the next round with a perfect score of 2 out of 2 after outplaying Moshoboro Phoebe of Botswana.
So far, the games I've played, they've been challenging, and what I hope on achieving is winning a gold medal so that I can go to Panama.
Looking at actually Africa providing and being able to host much more global events than in 2014 we had the World Youth Championships, which were hosted in South Africa, and it was a success, and people really enjoyed coming to Africa.
Matters boxing, Kenya's Rayton Okwiri is expected to take on Ghana's Joshua Alotei in the WBO Africa Super Welterweight title that is scheduled for the 26th of December in Accra. Alotei, who boasts a decent boxing record, will be Okwiri's toughest opponent so far since turning pro in 2017. The unbeaten Kenyan southpaw is, however, unshaken by Alotei's record, claiming he has fought tougher opponents in APB Pro Boxing, but expressed the respect he has for the Ghanaian fighters, branding them as tough. Okwiri, who has been shaping up ahead of the fight, has already received the blessings of the Kenya Professional Boxing Commission, who confirmed their full backing.
One left that comes from the corner, a very dangerous place when you've got an aggressive boxer like Rayton Okwiri. A right, left, right, all landing. Here's another right and another left. He's gone down onto the ropes. This will not go the full distance. The referee has...
The date is set then for Okwiri, December 26th. It is indeed Boxing Day, right? The persons who worked on that WBO scheduled fight indeed had some humor. Now let's cross over to matters soccer, where Football Kenya Federation Caretaker Committee has called on all football clubs and associations to fully comply with the Sports Act for a smooth running of football activities in the country. Football clubs have also been advised to deal with branches that are registered with the Sports Registrar.
Football Kenya Caretaker Committee wishes to notify all football stakeholders as follows. As you are aware, the various football leagues resumed across the country from the beginning of this month. The committee, in conjunction with the various clubs, have continued to run the league smoothly, and we thank all the stakeholders for their continued operations. The committee calls upon all clubs and associations to ensure that they fully comply with the requirement of the Sports Act to be able to run football activities at the grassroots level. Clubs are further advised to deal with the branches and associations that are compliant, and where in doubt to verify this information with the Sports Registrar. The committee will shortly embark on grassroots tours across the country to engage clubs and football stakeholders with a view of streamlining all the football activities at the grassroots level. For the avoidance of doubt, all county associations, branches, and any other organizations running the affairs of football are subordinate to the Caretaker Committee.
Now that puts a cap on matters and news. Remember, further details are available on our website www.kbc.co.ke. For now, we take a quick breather before we delve into the dailies. Do not go away, we'll be right back.
ametutanguliza kwa kauli kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ul an ra'iyatihi, yani kila mmoja ni mchunga na kila mmoja ataulizwa kuhusiana na kile ambacho amekichunga.
Waleaje watoto wetu? Je, tuwalea vipi watoto wetu? Je, watoto wetu wana maadili ama je watoto wetu wana adabu ama watoto wetu wana tarbia nzuri?
Guys ever read on your own?
Why should we, Ma'alimu? And we are paying school fees for you to teach us. That will be making your work easier.
You two ladies are murderers.
Kamene, can I take you out for a late cup of coffee?
Wait, you people, are you going to ignore the fact that he has people to bring certificate of good conduct, 2 passport photos, photocopy ID, just to sell me wako barabara?
Tito, you are laeta.
Hey, Stamina, your new dress code is coming with new swag and new words, right?
Are you saying we are the sugar in your tea, the kerosene in your stove, yani the pulmonary artery from your heart to the right?
Think about this for a minute.
There's nothing to think about.
For many years, for most of my life in fact, I have been resisting the urge to take someone's life. I think it'd be easier to start at the end, which is here.
Paul, I'm not stupid.
There we go. Good Morning Kenya does continue. We move on to the next segment, and this is in the headlines. In case you're just joining us, karibu tena sana. We are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. Our individual handles ever remain to be at Victor Olo, at Arena Range, at Ray Manyara, and at Jane Wamboy. I start you off with the Daily Nation. Very busy today. You can be able to see the front page there. Starting with the story there, the first story on the front page of the Daily Nation: do not drop your guard. COVID-19 infections spike, with the country having recorded its highest cases in the recent weeks after 331 people out of a sample of 2,872 were found to be infected. That is the latest in regards to the COVID-19 infection here in our country. And just looking at the positivity rate, it is said to have doubled. I will be giving you the actual information in just a bit more of that. But then there's another piece here concerning how we are spending, and especially so during this festive season. So tips on how to stretch out those coins that you have this Christmas, remembering that January is awaiting us. The 7 weeks of January, they're coming, all right? Coming to the main read: return of retirees in 2019. House passed motion to reduce retirement age to 55 years, with proponents citing need to create jobs. Now it has been revealed that the bill, which largely addresses the welfare of the elderly, proposes the rehiring of pensioners in critical services like health, national security, and education. And the proposed law is likely to revive a debate on keeping retired professionals in employment as qualified young
Kenyans languish in the street unemployed. This is a whole conversation when it comes to the age question, looking at the labor market, old versus the young, and looking at the fact that we are living in a time where the younger population are facing insane unemployment rate. But then there is also this particular proposal here. But moving on to some bit of politics, Uhuru Raila strategy for a grand coalition. And looking at the current political parties acts, it spells out 2 instances that shall apply to a member of a party being deemed to have resigned. Number 1, it is where a member in any way or manner publicly advocates for the formation of another political party, and the other is where he or she promotes the ideology, interests, or policies of another party. But here comes His Excellency and Raila, who say, if you join us, you will not have been deemed to have resigned from your other political outfit. That is the amendment that they're looking to make to this law, which is about to open Pandora's box in one way or the other. More details are coming up in a bit. And then there's also a piece here concerning students having gone rogue, and looking at the disturbing trend in spread that has been spreading across schools, where learners are increasingly seizing control from authorities and dictating how schools should be run, including deciding whether to stay in school or go at home. And one instance that has actually been cited here is Upper Hill School, where the principal just last week was forced to allow some students to go home early because they demanded to go home. They wanted to go home before the rest of the students, and of course before the official closing date as was issued by the Ministry of Education. And he allowed them with a note to the parents, your child wanted to go home early before the others, so ndio huyo, we will communicate when they will be expected to report back to school. More, that story has been covered here on page 7, the entire page. I'll be giving you more examples that have been cited here. And finally, the story concerning Babu Owino, who is set to buy a house for his victim, DJ Evolve, and in exchange for the withdrawal of the attempted murder case against him. That is the front page of the Daily Nation for you this morning. Victor.
I love that part where the principal said, okay, they want to go home, but we will tell them when to come back.
We have released your son.
Yes.
Kwanza amesema, your son has been released from school after demanding to go home for the December holiday before the recommended time of closing. Kindly note, each student was given an option of either going home or remaining in school. It will be communicated to you when he is supposed to report back. Signed, Principal.
It's the level of freedom.
Smart move. Smart move. And you see, that's going to be circulated across all schools. Before you go to another school, you have to give a letter from another school transferring you from there. So,
kwanza transferring schools is now a whole process.
It is. It is.
Hey, just the level of freedom that students nowadays have. Yani tunafanya venye munataka.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. Anyway. On the front page of the Star newspaper, MPs, county bosses to get huge pay rise. MPs, county bosses to get huge pay rise. Lawmaker salary to increase by 88,750 shillings, while that of CECs to jump by 45,000 shillings. County speakers by 144,375. SRC's pay plan due for public participation. That is according to the SRC, and it has been broken down there for you and well illustrated for you to just understand how it will look like once that is formulated. And judge freezes another 113 million shillings sent to quote-unquote girlfriend by foreigner. Details shortly. And that story of Babu Owino, and now the court has dropped the attempted murder charges, and Babu Owino said that they have reconciled, and rather DJ Evolve said that they have reconciled, and his attention right now is to recovery, and they have mended their bridges. So in his application to court, Evolve said that after consultation with his family, they had agreed to concentrate on his health, rather than the case of attempted murder. In the matter, Owino was charged with attempting to kill Evolve by shooting him on the neck. That happened sometimes early last year. And Met Department says that rains to continue pounding various parts of the country, so better be ready for that. Most parts, Kenya Met says that highlands part east of the Rift Valley and the southeastern lowlands and the coast will actually receive more rains. Forecast also showed that mornings are likely to be generally sunny in Kisii and major parts of the western side of Kenya. Okay. Moving on quickly, the story, SRC's team gives MPs rise to SRC team gives MPs pay rise and counties top bosses. And now it said that taxpayers will pay more than 785 million shillings annually to MPs and county top dogs in a new salary structure. And it says that in the proposed remuneration and benefit structure, MPs' gross salary will rise to 710,000 shillings per month from the current 621,250 shillings. This translates to an additional pay of 88,750 for each of the 416 MPs and senators. Now we all understand why most people are running for those political positions. What? Okay. We can just understand. It's broken down. It's a full page. That of the president will remain intact. The president will still continue to pocket 1.4, deputy again 1.2, National Assembly Speaker 1.1, and so forth and so forth. So that happens there for the MPs and the CECs. Raila moves to win Western without Mudavadi and Weta. That happened yesterday when Democratic Action Party of Kenya was launched at the Bomas of Kenya, and they have pledged their support to the Azimio la Umoja, which is being championed by Honorable Raila Odinga. So how is it going to take place? It is now that is the new party threw its weight behind Raila's presidential bid during its National Delegates Congress meeting in Nairobi. It also named Kandui MP Wafula Munyinyi as party leader and his Tongaren counterpart Eselis Miu as SecGen. So what is the fate of Mudavadi and Wetangula in Oka? Remember Gideon Moi the other day said that that Oka is part and parcel of the Azimio la Umoja. So they have not spoken as individuals, and on as ANC party leader, he's not giving his statement. Ford Kenya again, led by Moses Wetangula, Pia ajaongea.
And they were missing at the Azimio la Umoja.
Exactly. Gideon Moi, who is also part of the Oka, was there. There's a whole circus. And somebody said that by February, we will see the real structure of how things will be. Let's wait and see. All right, and finally on matters money and allocation, counties to get 125 billion shillings more in new allocation. A Senate committee proposes an increase from 370 billion shillings to 495 billion shillings. So that would actually will take place if Parliament approves a recommendation by a Senate panel to increase allocation by 125 billion shillings. And finally on sports, so I think there we are. Let's take it.
Doreen. There we have it. Anyway, let's come to the People's Daily, and maybe I can just begin from what the ODM Secretary General, that is Edwin Sifuna, mentioned, that he will not vie for any elective position come August elections, that is the 2022 polls, and that he is planning to rally all his support behind Raila Odinga. This is even after calls that perhaps he vies for whether gubernatorial, senatorial, or even a parliamentary seat, but he says that he's going to back the former premier. It looks like Raila Odinga is really getting a lot of support, if this is even after Muranga women representative that is Sabina Shege said that Mount Kenya will eventually warm up to Azimio la Umoja there. This, as she mentions, is because of even how Raila Odinga chose to go at it when he chose to use the elders there as opposed to going at it by himself. And this is why he says that Mount Kenya will eventually, and actually is eventually, warming up to Raila Odinga. And again, also to that story that was also mentioned there on the Star, where there by elders now sick. This actually in regards to what is happening in Oka, and also the deflection of Kilifi governor as well as Wamunyinyi there, who are now decamping to again just support Raila Odinga with the Azimio la Umoja bid. But now it looks like elders now seek to reconcile Raila Odinga and some of those the Oka principles. Again, just like it has been mentioned, they never showed up for that particular launch. They haven't quite declared their stand. This is in regards to Ford Kenya party leader as well as the ANC's party leader. So what exactly is their stand, even as we gear up towards 2022 general election? And even as we look at the Western politics, this comes as DP Ruto is now returning to Western Kenya to steady sheep in that particular part of the country, where he's expected to visit various areas as well as just also converse with different persons in that particular area. That is the Western Kenya. Looks like people are really popularizing their bid. This is ahead of, again, 2022 general elections. To some bit of corruption matters right now, EACC is grilling 28 county official overgraft charges. This is elected as well as nominated MCAs in Nyandarua County, who this money had been disbursed to them just for aiding in the growth of that particular county in different capacities, but that didn't happen. And just going by this particular article, it says that we actually understand, that is mentioned by the EACC, that each of the elected MCAs received a total of 240,000 for refurbishing their ward offices, which that didn't happen. And the elected MCAs received a total of 120,000 each. This was supposed to go towards COVID-19 mitigation, which again also didn't happen. And this is why they're probing those particular MCAs there. And also, just with the rising cases of COVID-19, given that as of yesterday, the rate rose to about 11%, and this is why again the ministry is continuing to urge Kenyans to just ensure they take the COVID jab, as well as continue to follow all the COVID-19 protocols. And perhaps this is also why the ministry had mentioned that as of December 21st, if at all you wouldn't have taken the jab, then you would have been locked out of government services. But then again, it looks like the court actually stopped that particular mandatory that had been decreed by the health CS. And again, when we get to those details, I'll be telling you why the court stopped that. And now it looks like at least a bit of a reprieve for Kenyans. But then again, it's all for your benefit to get vaccinated as a Kenyan. And this is why also the ministry is really trying to ensure they get to their targets, looking but also what they're trying to do by trying to also ensure that, again, they also vaccinate even teenagers. And at least as of yesterday, about 80,000 of them had been vaccinated. And with the continuing cases of cops killing themselves or even killing their spouse right now in Uasin Gishu County, counseling has been set aside for cops. And this is going to at least ensure that they deal with the stress issues. Also, again, when you get those details, I'm telling you what exactly Uasin Gishu County is doing, at least to assist and protect cops from all these suicide cases that we have been hearing of recently. Ray.
Just a sneak peek of what I have. One of the dailies here. The fuel subsidy that came to the rescue of Kenyans has found itself on the front page, as well as the issue of the court orders on Kenoti's arrest over the Wanjigi gun saga. That is still on the front page. Then about what happened yesterday after, a court halted, or rather stopped the state order on the COVID jab. And matters politics, that the new party backs Raila and cautions Mudavadi. The kicker is ODM leaders' quest for presidency got a boost after a breakaway of a faction from Senator Moses Wetangula's Ford Kenya party backed him and urged ANC leader to join the team if he wants to be part of the next government. Will he? We'll be keeping tabs on that. As we say, a day in politics is quite a long time. And talking about a day in politics, we have our diary on some of the stories and functions we're going to be keeping tabs on. President Uhuru Kenyatta is to preside over the groundbreaking ceremony for the residential accommodation for the Kenya Defence Forces, KDF. Also, the Deputy President is going to be, he's starting his 2-day visit to Kakamega and Vihiga. Today he will be in Kakamega and tomorrow he will be in Vihiga, in Emuhaya to be precise, that is tomorrow. On the other hand, Maendeleo ya Wanawake AGM will be taking place at KSG at 9 a.m. as well as we'll be having Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe holding a consultative meeting with the Council of Governors on the health policy and legislative barriers in Mombasa at 9:30. And you can be sure that the conversation around that particular decision by the courts is going to feature very prominently in that particular conversation with the Council of Governors. And just quoting what Harrison Kenyanjui, the lawyer representing the petitioner, he is quoted in the Daily saying, the health CS cannot override the Constitution, which gives rights to Kenyans by purporting to ban and bar them from accessing in-person government services. So the hearing is set for January 4th. But what is going to happen in the intermediate? Now let's recap the diary. President Uhuru Kenyatta will preside over the groundbreaking ceremony for the residential accommodation for the Kenya Defence Forces, while the Deputy President is beginning his 2-day tour of Kakamega and Vihiga. He's going to be in Kakamega as well as Vihiga. That is tomorrow. On the other hand, Maendeleo ya Wanawake AGM is going to be held at the Kenya School of Government at 9 a.m. And we're going to be having that consultative meeting between the Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe and the Council of Governors on matters health policy and legislative barriers in Mombasa at 9:30. Our team is following up on that and so much more, including what is going to be happening on the corridors of justice and matters security, especially following that particular shootout between the police and 2 suspected robbers that took place in Kiambu County, Ruaka to be precise. And at a time when, during the festive season, also the security apparatus has implored you and I as Wanjiko to keep an eye out for miscreant people who might be wanting to cause mischief in the festive season. It is a wrap in as far as news is concerned. Now we're going to be talking about how we can support persons living with disability in the next conversation. So do keep it right here.
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
The Masai Mara is one of the most productive ecosystems in the world.
In case I spot any animal with a problem or an injury, I can easily contact the people concerned.
In Masai communities, women stay at home, but one woman, Lucy Rotican, has decided to defy these expectations.
It was hard, but I was trying like I should prove them I'll do it, but it took time before they accepted me in the field.
The presence of these animals makes the Masai Mara one of the most popular tourism destinations in Africa. This is Wildlife Warriors, and I'm Paula Kohombu.
Kuwa utakuwa na hatari kubwa sana.
Hatari gani?
I'm tired. Akili, nimechoka.
Sasa uko kulipwa mshahara bila kufanya kazi.
Mara uko sawa, mara unabadilisha mawazo. Mimi nitakuelewa vipi?
This is too much.
Uniform yako hiyo.
Ya nini?
Ya kazi.
Umemwona?
Nani?
Chiku. Huyu mwanamke ana nini lakini hatulii?
If you had only loved me, that's all I was asking for. I understand. I would like nothing more than to find out if it's true and that you are.
And as of today, we are going to be a real family again. My daughters, Alejandro and I, are finally going to be together again, just the way it's supposed to be.
The Amazons.
Welcome back to the program. We continue with Good Morning Kenya, and this is actually our focus today. This is just a section of Likoni Road, how it was when the construction process began. Part of what Kura has just been trying to do to try and ensure that most of these roads, especially the city center and especially key roads, at least are in a good state to try and reduce the traffic flow. Like I keep saying all the time, we clearly know how much as a country we get to lose just being stuck in traffic, and this is why most of these roads are either rehabilitated, reconstructed, expanded, altogether, just trying to ensure that at least they are in a good state to reducing the traffic flow. So this is how the construction process began some time last year. It has been coming along well, especially just beginning from where the bypass is up until some sections of Jogoo Road. What is already complete in terms of that road reconstruction there is the section between the bypass up until Enterprise Road. That is the already finished part. Part of what is just remaining on that section is the amenities there, and this is because Kura had to engage the services of Nairobi Water Sewerage Company as well as KPLC to see how best they can relocate some water pipes as well as electric poles for ease of that construction process. So this is at least how that section is now looking like, and this is why I said what is already complete in terms of that reconstruction which had been taking place on this section is the section between the bypass, that's the southern bypass, up until that particular section there, which is a section of the Enterprise Road. So that entire bit there up until areas of Jogoo Road, beginning from Lunga Drive up until Jogoo Road, is what is just remaining, and this is why this road has been closed for some time to necessitate that construction process. As it had been mentioned earlier by Kura, is that it was supposed to be complete by March of this year, but that didn't happen because of those reasons that I said, where they had to engage services of Nairobi Water Sewer Company as well as KPLC for that specific reason, to see how they can relocate some of these electric poles as well as water pipes for ease of that construction process. Again, also part of what has remained is that non-motorized transport system, which is again what we are seeing in most of these roads. Either a new road that has been earmarked for reconstruction, expansion, could be recarpeting, rehabilitating. At least what they're trying to ensure is that they put up the non-motorized transport system. This is actually how it looks like at the farthest end there. This is what they're trying to ensure they put. And again, this is also to try and ease traffic flow. And the concept is very simple. If you have non-motorized transport system, inclusive of pedestrian walkways and cyclist lanes designated, then it just simply means that instead of this persons, whereby the pedestrians as well as cyclists, instead of them using the main road for vehicles, both public and private, then they have their specific lanes. So again, what that means is that instead of traffic police having to stop vehicles for them to cross over, they get to just specifically use their lanes. And that is also the reason as to why you're seeing either on most of these roads that are being expanded, they're also trying to ensure that they put up or they install footbridges for this same reason. The concept is still the same, to try and reduce the traffic flow on most of these routes. So this is why this morning we'll be tracking the traffic flow of this particular route, given the fact that there's still some ongoing activities on some sections of Likoni Road when it comes to an motorized transport system, as well as the entire reconstruction process of the section between Lunga Lunga and Jogoo Road. But on the traffic flow, this is how it is looking like, at least on the already finished part, in terms of construction that is in between the bypass up until that section of Enterprise roundabout, up until the section of up until the section of the Enterprise roundabout. This is how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic. And again, remember, oftentimes this road, in just the entire Likoni Road, all the time serves as a very good alternative route for those plying Mombasa Road, given the fact that we also know that expressway is clearly taking shape along Mombasa Road. So clearly also this Likoni Road could still serve as a very good alternative route, and it's always a good alternative route anytime for those using Mombasa Road. That is how the route is looking like this morning. Not really that bad, much as there's traffic in some sections of Likoni Road specific to that lane that is leaving, or the lane leaving areas of Mombasa Road, leaving the bypass, coming to the city center via Likoni Road, heading to sections or areas of South B, again going to sections of Enterprise up until areas of Jogoo Road. That particular lane is there. There's a bit of a traffic in some sections as you branch off to areas of Parkside Estate, around areas of South Beach. Just this area is where there's really heavy kind of traffic, not moving at all, just at a standstill. Away from that, as you head over to the roundabout there, that is around the Enterprise roundabout, also not really that bad, given the fact that it's one of those, also there's that busy roundabouts there. This is how the roundabout is looking like. Yes, there's traffic, but at least it's moving at a very fast rate, and that's why you're seeing that orange color there. And this actually continues up to areas of Bunyala roundabout as you branch off to sections of Uhuru Highway coming to the city center. That is how that particular roundabout is looking like. So it simply means if you're leaving areas of Mombasa Road, that is a stretch you can use as you head over to the city center, or alternatively still using the same Likoni Road coming up until areas of House of Manji, there where you get to branch off to that particular section and joining to areas of Donholm, coming through what used to be the Donholm roundabout, using Jogoo Road as you come to the city center. You can also use that as another of your alternative route through this entire section where it's a bit closed because of that construction. Not really that bad, given the fact that we'd be expecting to be spotting heavy kind of traffic, because I mean there's obviously a lot of ongoing roadworks, especially just in between this section, knowing fully well that it's also closed to necessitate that. But this is how it's looking like this morning, moving at a very swift pace. And the beauty is that this is actually on both lanes. On this particular stretch, when I'm talking about both lanes, just simply means as you leave areas of Jogoo Road, coming through Likoni up until House of Manji, as well as leaving areas of House of Manji, still coming through Likoni as you head over to the city center via Jogoo Road. That is how that area is looking like this morning in terms of traffic. But like I mentioned earlier, this is simply going to be our focus, at least today, trying to track the traffic flow as well as how the construction process is coming along on that particular section, whereby it's still remaining when it comes to that construction of the stretch of Likoni Road in between areas of Lunga Lunga as well as Jogoo Road. But that's how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic on that particular area.
Good morning. So from the roads, we are walking in time, actually ahead of time. Come the 17th of this month, which is barely 48 hours from today, the National Fund for the Disabled is going to be marking its 40th anniversary. But how has been the journey so far? At a time when matters of, persons living with disabilities have become very rife. However, perception still hasn't changed when it comes to, are we still including persons living positively actually in as far as the policy making table is concerned, or do we still see them as not part of the general society. How do we change that perception? To take us through that conversation is none other than Dr. Mike Kiswili, who is a trustee of the National Fund for Disabled of Kenya. Karibu, sir.
Thank you so much for having me in this show.
So 40 years, come Friday, we are walking in time. How has been the journey in a nutshell? And maybe before you tell us about the journey, just help us understand, what does the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya actually do?
Thank you so much for that question. The National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya came into existence 40 years ago. That's 1981. But the journey started in 1980 when the head of state, then the late President Daniel Arap Moi, formed a task force to go around the country and also raise funds for the disabled. This came about because 1981 was the UN year for persons living with a disability. So at that time, the whole country came together. They brought in resources and they raised about 20 million shillings then, which of course was a lot of money. And the time they were doing all this fundraising from all corners of the country, at least there was a lot of sensitization. And they came together at Uhuru Park and the money was raised. And then there and by there, the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya was founded.
Good. So that 40-year journey, when you look back at that 40-year journey, as you said, 20 million shillings then was quite a lot of money. Let's look at in terms of financial stability and disability as a challenge. What would be your comment about that?
It is unfortunate. For many years, our society has always looked upon people living with disability as a liability, particularly during those early years. But I'm glad to say that since then, the perception, the attitude, and the way they are being treated has changed a lot. Today, they are being assimilated to the normal part of the society. And thanks due to lobbying, a lot of advocacy from the disability sector, and also the legislation and the positive steps taken by the government of Kenya. One of them is like the Persons with Disability Act 2003, which brought in a lot of privileges and a lot of, entitlements which were enshrined in the law, and also the Constitution. One of them is today they are able to participate in the government procurement. There is at least 30% that sector. There is also, the way we construct our, houses, the way we do our buildings, and generally inclusivity. Inclusivity in the sense that today you find a lot of disabled people who have got a voice. So the government has done a lot since then. But I can say that way back in 1980, they are being looked upon as if really it's a taboo to have somebody who is disabled in the family.
These are some of the milestones that you've mentioned, but are there missing links? Do you think we can do more, especially not just looking at government, but also within the private sector?
Within the private sector, yes, a lot can be done, and a lot has been done. Today, you find that the society is more receptive, and the private sector has come up, to not judge the people living with disability through their disabilities. No. The private sector takes them as any other person. You go to school, you've got talents, you've got skills, you've got all that is required to do what you're supposed to do. And so there's less discrimination, more opportunities, and the private sector is also supporting the government towards that.
So from where you sit, Dr. here you're saying at least we have come of age where there are equal opportunities for persons with living with disabilities, so to speak.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the the history book that has documented this 40 years history. What is contained there? I would want to understand, as a person, an avid reader, I'd want to know what is contained in this history book.
The 40 years history book traces the beginning of the National Fund for the Disabled. Not only the National Fund for the Disabled, but also how has that sector grown? How was the perception grown? I will start with the National Fund for the Disabled of Kenya. You find that we started with only 20 million shillings. We bought Rehema House in the CBD, just behind New Stanley. And the trustees who were appointed at that time, they were so visionary. Instead of distributing the money between counties or, districts by then, they said, let's invest this money, become some sort of endowment fund where we can be able to assist both individuals and also institutions. Then from there, over the years, we also grew another policy aspect where we also started lobbying, trying to advocate for the people living with disability, their rights, their privileges, and really even the perception that we had in the public. Through that, like I said, we had the Persons with Disability Act. Then, 10 years later, another Rambe was done by His Excellency, the late President Daniel Arap Moi. Another 29 million shillings, that's 1989, was raised. And we bought the second property, New Rehema, in Westlands. The idea was to make sure that we are independent in the sense that we continue to fund our mandate. We continue to fund those causes which we believe are useful to the people living with disability. Also, 10 years, I beg your pardon, 10 years later in 1992, out of the proceeds of those two properties, we bought another third property, which is Rehema Place along Gung Road. And recently, just a year ago, we bought another one. So when you look at it all in all, we have seen growth in that sector. Also inclusivity. In our board, you've got people who are disabled. One of them is a prominent lawyer, Honorable Josephine Sinyo, and also in the staff and others like that. So we have seen tremendous change.
So how do you tap into these monies that you have invested? How then do they trickle down to persons living with disability? Is it open, or does one have to be, how does one benefit in essence?
I would say that money, because the trustees are guided by the policy of empowering persons living with disability, both socially and economically. We collected rent. Currently, we are collecting about 200 million shillings. And we also work alongside with the provincial administration, the present national government administration officers, GAO, who identify people who are living with disability. And they also identify the disability and they identify their needs. And through that process, we try to allocate per county to make sure that we reach the nation as a whole. So we distribute that money in terms of, say for example, individuals. We try to empower them economically. We buy them income generating tools, machines, equipment, like for irrigation, for carpentry, for electricals and things like those ones. Also institutions, we also identify institutions which are serving people with disabilities, particularly schools. You find for a long time, these schools had been not given as much attention like the normal schools. You find they don't have dormitories, they don't have, laboratories, and so we have gone into that. Currently, we have assisted 151 schools, worth about 300 million shillings all over the country. At least every county, every year, we try to fund one school. So within those 10 years, we have funded 151 schools.
Is it contributory? Is it open to the public to contribute to this particular fund?
This is not contributory at all. We have a website where people living with disabilities can be able to access it. They are able to decide what they want to apply for. We fund it 100%. And every year, because the head of state is the patron, we always, our accounts are audited. We present them to the president, and we also publish those financial statements in the daily, in the dailies every year.
Now, as you mark your 40th year celebrations, what are your expectations of this particular fund?
Looking forward, we want to see more collaborations. We want to see more change of perception. Because a person living with a disability really is not different from me or you. The only difference is that he couldn't be having this or other, just like some of us have got ailments. People could be having high blood pressure, others could be having other diseases like diabetes, and they are limited. It's only this one could be physically or
identified.
Yeah. Something that you can see from there, or maybe vision impairment. But apart from that, these people are normal people, and we expected that going forward, they'll be given the opportunity that they need, like another Kenyan. And thank God, at least the Constitution is so clear on that. The Persons with Disability Act is so clear on that. The government is doing a lot. The private sector is doing a lot. And that's why we are seeing ramps everywhere. So going forward from where we are now, we need more collaborations, we need change of perception, and we need more participation and inclusivity for people living with disabilities.
Daktari, we are headed into the election period. What is your take in terms of inclusivity? As you've said, inclusivity, especially where we are making the decisions at the policy table. What is your comment in the current representation that we have, especially, you know, in arms of government that are calling the shots, so to speak?
In my own personal view, I think a lot more can be done. There's a saying that says within that sector, there is no decision that should be taken for disabled people without them being involved. And I think that is very, very important. Also, the way we measure their performance, the way we have their expectations has to change, which means that really, when you talk about security, people living with disabilities, they need more security during this polling time so that they can contest it freely. And I think that's very, very important as we go into politics.
Mm-hmm. Persons living with disabilities should be making their decisions about themselves, not the other way around. Inclusivity.
Inclusivity, absolutely. And we are seeing more and more of that, but I still believe a lot can be done towards that direction. Mm-hmm. And I think what we need to do is the 5% representation, which is there in the law, should be implemented and should be observed. That way, then we are able to make sure that where we are, they are also there.
So good on paper, it has to be put in practice. So in a nutshell, as we come to a close of this conversation, what do we look forward to from this fund in the next 10 years? You've given us a breakdown of what has been done, at least 10 every 10 years.
Currently, like I said, we are celebrating 40 years tomorrow.
True.
The head of state has graciously agreed to grace that occasion. Tomorrow at KICC, starting at in the morning section, and we also urge as many of them as can to come and participate in that.
That is Friday, right?
It's Thursday tomorrow.
Oh, Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Because the communication we received was that it's going to be happening, yes, at the KICC, but on Friday.
There's a change. There was a change.
Okay.
So you're right in a way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So it is tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Ah.
Yeah. So tomorrow we are all gathering out there to celebrate 40 years. But in going forward, we want to make sure that the 40 years don't just change. We are moving away from relief, from sympathy, and all that to where we empower them. And in the process of this empowerment, we also want to bring them on board so that they can be able to decide their own destiny.
Very well said. So tomorrow, save a date, and the venue is going to be the KICC, where the National Fund for Disabled in Kenya is going to be having the 40th anniversary there. And the patron is none other than President Uhuru Kenyatta. Is going to be, be with them this day tomorrow, just to look at the milestones that they have made and what are the expectations over the next few years. Our guest has been none other than Mike Kisili, who is a trustee of the National Fund for Disabled of Kenya, and he says, and I want to take this home with me, that persons with disability are not a liability. Persons with disability are not a liability. We need to change our perception for inclusivity and moving forward. You're still watching KBC Channel 1. I'm Regina Manyara. Stay tuned.
You could be seated there, not knowing you're the newest millionaire in town. Want to know how? visit ufaa.go.ke or dial *361# and find out if there's any unclaimed cash and other financial assets in your name. Labda umeomoka na ujui. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
有一段故事建筑一座城堡。
3 times! I had paid to have it checked out 3 times. And I remember the last time you told me that all possible risk had been eliminated.
Did you follow that? Or did I just make things worse?
I'm willing to answer your question. As long as we can have our own house. And you and Mai have good lives.
What is it that he wants? Is he blackmailing us? He said...
有一段故事建筑一座城堡。回放进去后就不再打。
Inaonyesha kuwa utakuwa na hatari kubwa sana.
Hatari gani?
I'm tired. Akili, nimechoka.
Sasa uko hata kulipwa mshahara bila kufanya kazi.
Mara uko sawa, mara unabadilisha mawazo. Mimi nitakuelewa vipi?
This is too much.
Uniform yako hiyo. Ya nini? Ya kazi. Umemwona?
Nani?
Chiku. Huyu mwanamke ana nini lakini hatulii.
If you had only loved me, that's all I was asking for. I understand. I would like nothing more than to find out if it's true and that you are.
And as of today, we are going to be a real family again. My daughters, Alejandro and I, are finally going to be together again, just the way it's supposed to be.
The Amazons.
Try to push you over. If you should lose me, you lose my kitchen. Girl, you are a queen to me, yeah. And I'm so proud that I'm your king. You bring up things that's to me.
Minutes past 8 a.m. This is still Good Morning Kenya, and we continue with the show. Before we continue with the remaining conversations, again a quick look on the roads. Likoni Road being our focus this Wednesday. Try to see how the progress has been coming along in terms of construction, and ultimately tracking the progress of either what NMS, Kura or KenHad, these are the different bodies designated or mandated to at least ensure there's proper reconstruction process of most of these roads. And again, we are just tracking the progress of that particular construction, especially in between the stretch of House of Manji up until Jogoro. And because of the closure of that particular stretch, this is actually what I'm talking, this is the area I'm talking about, where there's been a bit of closure, closed because of that construction process. This is where the area begins from up until areas of Jogoro there, and because of that, Kura gave other alternative routes for those plying this specific stretch, either coming to areas of Mombasa Road or even past there, even coming to the city center. So one of those alternative routes that was given is the using of Jogoro Road, branching off through the Donholm roundabout, coming through the stretch of Lunga Lunga up until you enjoy intersections of Likoni Road, where you get to branch off to Mombasa Road as you head over to the areas along Mombasa Road, or even coming to the city center. So that is one of them, which was given by Kura because of the area being closed. Again, that is because of that construction process. This is how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic. Not really that bad, amidst the fact that there's a lot of especially road work activities, not forgetting the fact that this stretch or this particular route is where that overpass on areas around Enterprise Road took a total period of 7 years before it was already complete. And this is why a good number of Kenyans were asking why that particular stretch, just that stretch in between those areas I've mentioned, perhaps might be taking a bit of some time, given the fact that the first announcement which was made is that it's supposed to be complete by March of this year. But this is because there's a lot that Kura had to do in terms of engaging services of Nairobi Water and Sewer Company as well as Kenya Power, and this is why they had to engage those services to relocate most of these electric poles that you're seeing, as well as water pipes, and that was supposed to necessitate easy expansion of this route, given the fact that what is happening on Likoni Road when it comes to reconstruction process is actually the expansion of this road. And part of those amenities that are going to come with that is the motorized transport system, which is clearly also slowly taking shape, just as you're seeing from this particular image, as well as that proper drainage system. That is also the other thing that they're also trying to just establish before all that is put in place. So at least when it comes to the road reconstruction or expansion in between the stretch of bypass up until areas of House of Manji, that is already complete. What is remaining is basically also what you're seeing from this particular image, just that entire stretch there, which is where the House of Manji or Lunga Lunga begins up until areas of Jogoo. But again, to the traffic flow, like we saw earlier, nothing is changing around that particular stretch, much as there's a bit of a traffic, manageable kind of traffic, moving at a swift pace, coming all the way from areas of Enterprise, Don Home, coming through Lunga Lunga, as well as past there as you head over to areas and sections of Jogoo Road. That is how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic. Simply, that has been our focus today, looking at how that particular stretch is looking like, and that is also what you're going to be keenly focusing on up until we get another statement from either Kura or Kenha on when that stretch is going to be complete. As of now, that's how it's looking like. Nothing has been said on whether on the date or time when it's expected to be complete. They've only given reasons as to why it has stalled a bit, but obviously we expect that to be complete and opened up to the public, and simply that is why it will at least remain a key area of focus up until that happens. But back to the traffic flow, that is how it's looking like at just exactly 8 minutes past 8 a.m.
Right, so we are back on air and we have to flip the discussion a bit, and we need to talk about matters, security in the country. It is that particular period again, once that the country is now gearing forward to having that election. And each and every time, security begins with you and I. And we need to understand what are some of the issues that's affecting the police officers and even you as a civilian, and how can we bridge that gap between the police officer and a civilian. And by the way, how do you call a police officer? Bwana mkubwa, afande, afisa, bro, sister, okay, governor, Bwana Crown. There are those names that we usually use. The slang we use, ama polisi, ndio huyo sanse amekuja. We just need to understand the whole scenario where it moved from a police force to a police service. And with me to help me understand this is one gentleman, police spokesperson Bruno Shioso. I'm a Luo. If I shrub, please don't crucify me. All right, don't crucify me. Karibu sana to the show. How should I call you? Mkubwa, Bwana Bruno, Bwana Fisa, Afande. What is the light word that I can use to refer to a police officer?
Good morning, Victor.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kenyans. Nice being here today.
Yes.
I'm excited to be with you at KBC. Before maybe I move into the question, let me bring the greetings of the Inspector General.
Absolutely.
The two DIGs, the Director of CID, and all my colleagues, rank and file. Yeah, they know I'm here. They are happy and excited for me being here, sharing some few issues about National Police Service. Yeah, how do you call a police officer?
Yes.
Really great question. Yeah. First of all, before I come into that stretch, I'll say that what the public should know is that we are their servants. They are our bosses. Yeah. So when they're still trying to figure out how to call us, let them figure it from that point of being up there, you know, looking down at us. Not, I mean, down against us, but I mean, just like knowing that we are their servants. So they can try to look for an appropriate kind of name they can give us, which is fitting, respectful. But generally and universally, it's very easy to call a police officer. Just call him officer. Officer. That's perfect. Yeah. Just call us officer. We'll really be proud, I mean, because it makes us feel appreciated. It makes us feel that you care for us. And having said that, it's only the police as a profession or as a career in the whole world that everybody, right from that, I mean, a constable you saw, I mean, graduating the other day, to the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Police, who share, and they're all officers. Okay. They're all officers. You'll never get that anywhere else. Right from that very junior to the topmost person sharing. We're all officers. So we don't say that, I mean, the top guys are the ones who are called officers, and the junior ones, maybe they are called some other funny name or so. Yes. We are all officers. Yes. So let the public know that we are all officers, call us respectfully as officers, but knowing and remembering that we are servants and you are employers, you are our bosses, and we have to respect you.
All right.
Yeah.
I usually call them, hello, bro. Sister, sometimes because my brother is also a police officer, so I think it's because of that basis that I get it to interact with them on that basis. But then now, you have been in office for slightly over 100 days.
Sure.
All right. How is it so far?
So far, it's really cool. I mean, I'm enjoying my work. Yeah. We're having some great moments with my fellow officers, with the public, just trying to do what we're supposed to do. Yeah. Protecting lives, their properties, and trying to communicate to them to remind them of some few basics. Yeah. So it's been awesome so far. I want to thank the public for the kind of support, because so many reach out to us, and more specifically to my office, trying to get to know some information about the police, and even us again trying to reach out to them. So we've been having some very fantastic communications, conversations all along. So far so good, and I believe we're trying to impact our service delivery to the people. Yes.
Did you expect to get this position you are in today?
I mean, let me say, I've never really been overly ambitious, but of course, as a human being, we have our motivations, and I had some kind of ambitions, I mean, as I've been rising up in the service. But the last thing I ever thought about was being a police spokesperson. Yeah, because first of all, I'm a laid-back person. I like working from the back room and from the front line. So I can have my opinions, but I'll communicate them within my inner circles. And I love pushing, I've always loved pushing policy from the back room. Yeah, so it came as a surprise. Although something funny, I mean, maybe, let me say, some 4 or 5 years ago, because the former guy in this office, Mr. Owino, somebody who's really well known, celebrated, and respected as a police spokesman for so many years. He is a personal friend of mine of so many years. And I remember there's a time he gave me a call, asked me to meet him over lunch, and he told me, that's around 5 years ago. 4 or 5 there, boss. And will you want to take my job? I mean, I think I want to move. I told him, no, I don't want your job. So we agreed that I didn't want his job. Yes. That was it. Then this time around, I mean, I was called by the IG, told me, I mean, I want you to take this job. Of course, I could argue, because, I mean, for us, we never argue, we take instructions as they come. So I said, well, okay, yes, sir, I'll do the best I can. Okay. So I hope I'm doing the best I can, serving the IG, serving the police service, and serving the country and our public the best way I can. Yeah, so just making a contribution to good policing outcomes. Yeah.
You have risen through the ranks. You are an OCS. You are base commander way in Siaya and in Kisumu. You have been an instructor at Kiganjo Police School. You have been different ranks, etc., etc. How do you describe yourself that up to this particular point you're now this police spokesperson?
Yeah, this is amazing. I never told you all this. I don't know how you got it. Yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I joined actually as a police constable some many years back. And I had my very good motivations of why I joined the police force. I wanted just to do great service, serve the people. And maybe see what I can be rewarded as I move up.
Yeah.
But my motivation was just to serve. And within a year, a year and a half, I became an inspector of police, jumping so many other ranks, in between there. And sure, when I became an inspector, it is one of the first, because I became an inspector, and the same day I was made an OCS of a very big station.
The same day?
Same day. Actually, I was informed of being an OCS before I knew that I'm an inspector. So it happened. So everybody was surprised. Yeah, but it's been a very good journey, because I started learning major things at a very early age, and I took all my time into it. And I learned so much, how to relate to officers, how to relate to other people, leadership issues, management and leadership issues. I began much, much earlier. And I developed a very clear pathway, trying to know how I could serve well, make a difference, and rise as I do that. Yeah, so I agree with you. I've been an OCS. Shortly, I was again appointed by the Commissioner of Police by that time to become the first OC of Central Bank Kisumu when you just opened.
Yes.
Because they wanted a good officer. I was taken over there. Shortly again, traffic was disbanded. They wanted good officers. And somehow I was told, hey, you have to go become a base commander without even training. I learned on the job. So I went to traffic, became a base commander, Kisi, Siaya, and some other places like Kisumu. I went to Kisumu again, finally. Then shortly again, I went into prosecution.
Yes, you are court prosecutor.
Yeah, I became a court prosecutor. That time we were doing from where the Supreme Court is.
Yes.
It was really amazing, because I served, I learned so much about law, and again looked at crime from the other side. Yeah, because mostly police officers will look from it from the front end.
Yeah.
So I looked at it from the middle and even from the other back end, of it. Because now I was working very closely with the magistrates, with the courts, and seeing how they operate. And some of these top lawyers, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to work around them. Close to them and observe how they operate. So I learned so much from them. And then from there, we went into the mainstream investigation. Yeah, fraud, they call fraud investigation, senior headquarters, and so those kind of corruption and those kind of stuff. So very versatile. I learned so much along the path. Then I ended up in Kiganjo as an instructor. Very humbling. Being part of the solution of molding officers. Although I didn't have the chance of teaching the younger ones, but I instructed or taught in the senior training wing, the senior officers. And from there again, I became a personal assistant of the director of CID. So many years. Those are those directors. Yeah. So I think just because of service, and somehow wherever I serve,
you leave a mark.
Well, I can't say that. Other people say that, but somehow I'm selected for something again more challenging to that. So I keep on building on it and keep on learning as I do that, and trying to perfect and trying to learn from my mistakes and learning from other people. So it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm still enjoying it. Right now I'm in a different office. Yeah. I served again international policing with the UN. So it's been good.
Interesting. And this actually shows even to other officers out there that it's possible to rise through the ranks because of your hard work and determination. But I'm more interested in your position when you are an instructor at Kiganjo Police College. Perhaps you can tell us through, because the syllabus that is being taught at the college, do you really think that it needs to be revised so that they keep in tabs with the current, the situation we have in the country, because the world is moving, and tomorrow we are interacting with different people. We are a digital world, and the other day, the police officers, actually, even the OBs have been digitized. What do you think should be done to ensure that police officers are also at par with the current world?
Yeah, already has been done. Let me say that. When I was in Kiganjo, well, we had a talk of police reforms by that time, but it was not well structured by then, because I was in Kiganjo before the new constitution. But you see, with the new constitution, which brought in, the reforms, police reforms.
Yes.
It made it a law that you have to reform. You see, before then, those are just initial. Individual initiatives of the commissioners of police. Just to drive down our reforms piecemeal. So we had a syllabus. It was a functional syllabus. We can't fault it, but of course there are areas we could take here and there and make it work. And it was working. Fit for purpose for then. But as you have rightly said, the way the world is moving, there's so much that you have to change with the times, in terms of technology, in terms of human rights expectations and those kind of issues. And these issues have been catered for with the new constitutional dispensation which brought in the police reforms, which it has been ingrained actually in the Constitution and in the Police Act. So having said that, right now, because of the police reforms which are ongoing, those the first areas of the reforms are taken on the police curricula.
Yes.
Just to address what you was rightly saying. Yeah, to recalibrate the syllabus and the whole curriculum to make it fit for purpose for the current times.
Yeah.
So right now we are having a very robust, curriculum based on the international norms of policing, what we call democratic policing, and it's we have a baseline, which is a UN baseline, and what we call the strategic guidance framework of the UN. You can get it online. It gives the basic framework on how it should be, and ours actually fits. In fact, our curriculum, I'll say, goes even well beyond the UN expectations.
Okay.
As a baseline.
Okay.
Just because of the same constitution which informed the reforms. You see, it's always said that our constitution is one of the most robust and most transformative and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's what's driving our reforms and in turn driving the police curricula. So our curriculum is not just again being pushed or pushed by the police itself. We are working with actors, human rights actors, international development partners who are bringing in their specific inputs to make it, fit for purpose. So yes, right now, the curriculum we are using right now is very transformative. It's, is even well beyond the baseline internationally. So it's one of the best we have.
All right.
Yes, addressing all the key issues to do with, democratic policing. Yeah.
That's interesting because even right now when we see police officers who pass out from, different institutions of training, we see different faces coming out there because when you go, right now, even the OB is digitized. You go to a police officer's room, you have your fingerprints, stored digitally, and that actually raises the sense of record keeping.
True.
For future use. But let me talk about the issue of public attitude towards police officers. Still, we really need to have that bond completely squeezed. So there's a very tight bond between the civilian and the police officers. Does it really worry you?
It worries because going back to police work and actually the purpose and the intent of police work, you see, police is part of the community.
Yes.
It's part of the public. We're just part of the public. We are unlike maybe other professions from within the discipline services like the military. You see, with the police, we reside with the people. We're part of the people.
Yes.
Actually, we say that we're just a donation of the people. We're doing the work people should be doing for themselves. But then because there are other activities, they're busy with their economic lives and personal lives.
Yeah.
They'll pick a few of themselves to say, hey, you guys, can you take over our security issues? So that's the police. Actually, it says in one of the principles of policing that the public are the police and the police are the public. That's one of the key roles of policing. So it really worries me that chance is there, that gap between the police and the public is there. But then it comes to the question of the police reforms, which is at least meant to address this pertinent issue.
Yes.
But then now the problem of the reforms is this, according to me, this is my opinion, maybe I might be corrected, is that, you see, we're trying to reform the police, but then we are forgetting that attitudes and these perceptions, I mean, they are both ways, you know?
Exactly.
So we should be reforming the police and reforming the public at the same time.
But that needs a bit of some civic education.
That I'm saying is,
yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say. So it requires so much investment in terms of civic educations. So what I'm trying to say is that as you are reforming police, as you're struggling to make sure that we bring in a new mentality of policing, at the same time, we should have specific programs targeting the public.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'll say that I really want to be part of that conversation. And as the head of the corporate communication of the police, it is part of my role. But, you know, I can just only do so much. Maybe appearing here and trying to appeal to the public, and maybe others will dismiss me, that's PR, blah, blah, you know. At times we go to Twitter and say something, people say, that's PR, those are the police, you know. It's because even them, they're coming from that point, or a standpoint, where they have not been reformed themselves. You see? So we need a software that, I mean, should be working at the police. We push it, tell them these are our employers, yeah?
Yes.
This is the way you have to work with them, and we must work with them. We have no two options. They don't know always about it. But at the same time, we should be working with the public, telling them, hey, you guys, I mean, these are police officers. They are part of you. They're just like your kids. Your kids in your house, I mean, moja atakosea hapa hivi kesho, or somebody like that. I mean, but then you don't throw them out with, I mean, the kid in the bathwater.
Yeah.
Let's look for solutions. Once, I mean, the public also appreciates and understands that we're part of them. We're part of the family. And we're there for them. Well, I mean, irrespective of our shortcomings.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because they'll be there, and they'll continue being there. The issue is, how do we come together to see how we can approach this? Okay, solutions have been brought up, like community policing.
Yes. And actually, most of the police officers now live within the communities.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So some of the solutions, which still, again, they're being driven by the police, because we want to see solutions, again, being driven from the other side again, you see? So solutions are there on the table. We talk about community policing. Great idea. Kenya has been on the forefront of this, actually, not just because of the reforms. If I told the journey of police reform, it came way before the reforms. Okay. I remember with the NAC government, when it came to power,
way back in 2002.
And 2 years, I remember, I mean, because I took I've always tried to be a reformer even way back. So I took a keen interest, and I remember where there was, I mean, for the first time ever, when the Commissioner of Police was appointed, a deputy was appointed by the president, was appointed with an express mandate to lead police reforms. So, so I'm saying the journey, has been an old journey, but there have been maybe some bottlenecks along the way. So these police reforms, no, not reforms, but the community policing is a very good tool that we are trying to drive from police to see how we can narrow this gap. We can cross this bridge from the police and the public, so that we can come together, sit on the common table the way you are sitting and discussing.
Yeah.
Not that I'm perfect. I know that even you are perfect, you see, but we can now always try to have some common ground, not hate each other, but speak to each other and know how we can improve from there.
Okay.
So that's an area that we're inviting the public to come in so strongly. There are so many initiatives. I can cite around 2 or 3.
Yes.
Which they're in the face of the public, but there are so many others again happening right from the front line. Go to Kisii. Kisii, the county police commander, is a champion of community policing. Yes. He's dedicated to most of his service, not just doing the cop work as it should be, but going beyond that.
We need to salute him.
Yeah.
The county commander?
Yeah, Mr. Kohli.
Yes.
Mr. Kohli, beautiful work is doing in Kisii, trying to reach out to communities, trying to understand their needs and trying to solve their needs. Go to Nakuru, Madam Beatrice Kiraguri, the county police commander again there. She's taken a different approach. Her approach is now through sports. Trying to say that, maybe bring them together first. Let's not even talk to them. Just bring them together, throw a ball in the pitch, let them play. At the end of the game, they are hugging.
Yes.
You see? Then start talking. So the law this year, she's been doing the finals was 2 weeks ago. Big final. Go to Machakos. Machakos, the county, Isa. Fantastic job. They said they had a big meeting yesterday in, is it called Mwala or what? One of the some counties.
Yes.
One of the community policing models is on you check our timeline on the Twitter and Facebook, you'll see all those. And so many others who are doing similar things. So what we're saying, we want the public again to give them the benefit of doubt, join them and be part of these conversations, part of these activities, and let's move together. So that, I mean, at the end of the day, we start from, I mean, we erode this, mistrust.
Yes.
Once we can now be able to sit together, play together, and then we can now talk critical issues.
And actually, this can also be, it's quite evident because we have, when we have the DCI,
yes,
anytime there's a case, the gentleman behind the keyboard narrates how it happens, but then the DCI also launched the feature. It's the feature
number,
exactly,
yes,
where the public can actually send,
yes,
and talk to them directly.
And even I have feature, yes, with the DCI, fantastic job. The IG has engaged the IG on Twitter. Every fortnight, first Monday of the fortnight, people call. Just he'll sit in the office on his laptop. People chatting him and he's responding to them, and so many other initiatives. For my office is an open door office. Anytime people just walk in, people call, and we take the calls and field questions. Yeah,
it's quite easy because when I were having this kind of conversation with you, it was quite prompt. You know, the response was quite quick between me and you. That which is quite commendable. Let me ask you, what are you trying to fix in your office? What are you fixing?
My office per se, as the communication?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, my office, I mean, it has a critical role to play in all this we're discussing, because now we should be actually, not really we are the face of the police, of the service. At the same time, again, it's us to come up with those initiatives of trying to reach out. So, but then, of course, we have these challenges of capacity.
Yes.
It's still a very small, young office. I have a small dedicated staff. I mean, very nice, very nice dedicated people doing the best they can, but we can do with more capacities in terms of the human resources, equipment and stuff, you know.
Allow me to take a break. The director says that we also have to follow the procedure and take a break. Then when we come back, we are just going to pick it from where we've left. We have got so much we need to talk about.
Sure.
And even you can talk to us. He's here today. You can send in your questions and he'll be glad to answer them once we come back. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Utakuwa na hatari kubwa sana.
Hatari gani?
I'm tired. Akili, nimechoka.
Sasa uko kulipa mshahara bila kufanya kazi?
Mara uko sawa, mara unabadilisha mawazo. Mimi nitakuelewa vipi?
This is too much.
Uniform yako hiyo. Ya nini? Ya kazi. Umemwona?
Nani?
Chiku. Huyu mwanamke ana nini lakini hatulii?
Wiki hii kwenye mkulima tutakuwa wahandisi.
Na saa zingine unakuwa na matunda mengi. Hayo matunda yakiwa mengi yanakuwa na shida kuuza. Kwa hivyo badala ya kuuza tunaweza kuyatengeneza akawa ya kuwekwa kwa muda mrefu.
Tumfuge samaki kwa kijumba.
Tilapia ni aina ya samaki anayehimili sana magonjwa na hukua kwa haraka, hivyo kufugwa kwa wingi. Silver Cryptid inayojulikana sana kama omena ama dagaa ni kipenzi cha watu wengi.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa mseto kamili wa kilimo.
And welcome back. We're still having this discussion here with the police spokesperson Bruno Shioso. From where we left, what are you fixing in your office? What is your agenda? What is your objective?
Yeah, so as I was saying before we went on break, first of all, I'm really working on my capacities.
Yes.
So that I can be more effective and efficient. And once I reach there, because I'm working closely with the Inspector General of Police, then my agenda basically, and what will make me go sleep smiling, is to see that we're trying to close this gap between the police and the public, these suspicions, where we can restore trust into the police and the service. We'll want to see people having issues reaching out to the nearest police officer, nearest police station, confidently, as their property, talk to them and be addressed. On the flip side of it again, I really want, and this is a strong agenda from within, to change attitudes within the police, to make sure that they know we are service and at the service of our clients, the customers, who are the public. Every company has, actually they spend so much money on marketing and sales. So people will call me a police spokesperson for the police, but me, I look at myself as maybe the chief marketing officer or marketing director, so that me and my staff will be on the front line marketing the service to the people, and the same and vice versa, try to market again the people to the service. So those are some of the key areas where I'm working around issues of changing narratives. Most narratives are whichever way against the police, against the public, because even the police have their narratives against, and they are part of the powerful police culture. You see, where we call it the blue thin line of policing. We feel that we are alone, we've been abandoned by the people, they don't care about us. You see, there's a narrative, a strong narrative forming part of the police, and that's why police will keep themselves. At the same time, the public will say, oh, they're unprofessional, they're corrupt. Those are narratives again. So we want to demystify these two narratives, so that we say, okay, fine, we might have maybe one or two bad officers.
Yes.
From where we sit, we want to look at those officers in the true perspective as just, bad ebb falls in an otherwise clean barrel. And we want again to give the benefit of doubt to the public. We don't want police officers to look at the public as the enemy. Or all as criminals.
But actually, that is a situation right now.
Like anytime you go to a slum and meet a boy with a rasta, he's a criminal, arrested.
Exactly.
Just because of that. Those are bad narratives, We are stereotyped, we are biased. So those are issues we want to see how we can play our role. We know the pressures the police have when it comes to policing, and in the course of that, they can make some few mistakes over there, as they do a very good job. But you want to remind them that let's not just generalize, and the public also, let's tell them that don't just generalize. That in time now you see me having maybe my cup of tea in a good restaurant, you assume that is a process of corruption.
Exactly.
I've been corrupted so that I can afford going to a fast-food hotel to have a cup of tea.
That every police officer should live a miserable life.
Miserable life. If I drive a good car, then he's corrupt. Or any other police officer is corrupt. You see, it doesn't really help anything. Police officers we know they're hardworking people. They have some other interest elsewhere. They have families who are doing some other great things.
Yes.
Look at them like that. But if there's a wrong that has been committed, let's try to isolate it. Let's see how we can approach it and fix it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm interested in understanding the cases of extrajudicial killings that has been going on. The civil society, the human rights activists have been looking up, talking about them over and over again. And police officers are actually at the center of all this. And what would you talk about the extrajudicial killings we have, the forced disappearances? We have cases of abductions, and etc. How are you intending to solve this?
Yeah, and this is actually an extension of just discussed the issue of narratives.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything going bad in the society, push it to the police. I mean, it looks good. It might look really good and easy. That's the easy thing, but not that being lazy, you see. And now when people decide to be lazy, I mean, many bad things will happen. And we forget to look for what we call the root causes. But you see, the hard work is when there's an issue, let's sit down, let's analyze, and let's look for the real causes.
Yeah.
For us to get sustainable solutions. And that's the thing we miss in these discussions, and which are being informed by these narratives we're trying to change. So as you rightly said, I mean, anybody would go missing. Okay, for us police, once we get that report, we shall go through the normal procedures. Investigate. And we don't just investigate from the blues. We still have to reach to the people, and plus other forensics, and plus other, but then the people are supposed to reach out to, already they have dismissed us. You are involved. But
some of these people are assumed to be police officers.
Then I'm saying, why are they assumed? I mean, is it based on fact? That's the question I'm asking. You see, it's easy. I'm saying it's very easy. It's very convenient for people to say it's the police.
Yes.
And based on their motivations, based on their mandates, some maybe, it's very easy for them to say it's the police, and because I'll be funded, or because of blah, blah, blah. It works for me. Or it's easy even, for the lazy people. But these are discussions. If somebody is missing, the bottom line here is this person should be looked for. And that can only happen through an investigation. Yeah, not through, suspicions. And even when it comes to suspicions, there are levels of suspicion. So when you say it's the police, at which level are you suspecting the police? Is it at that mere level?
Yes.
Is it at a reasonable level? Is it at a probable cause? You see. So people just sit comfortably in their boardrooms, on the streets, because I'm an activist, because I'm a what. It's the police. It's the police. It's their help. It's the same police again who have to investigate this, who have to document this, investigate and get solutions. So the only thing is, come and sit down together. They are saying, we must have that forum. Fine, come and say it's the police. We have no problem with that. Tell us why it's the police. It's the police, yes. Then why?
Then why?
But when you say it's the police and then you sit back, that's being lazy, and you're not helping anybody. And if you don't trust the police, say it's the police, yes. Don't trust the police. Right now, the new constitution and the police reforms is beautiful. We have oversight. Even internally, we have internal oversight.
Yes.
We have, which is independent from is internal within the police.
The internal affairs.
But is independent from, it doesn't take instruction from anybody. No. Nobody can control it. And it makes reports public. Go to internal affairs. Say we are suspecting, police Bruno Shoso is to have been involved in this ABCD. They'll be on my case, like yesterday. If you don't even trust them because you feel they have their name police or whatever internal, go to IPOA. IPOA is a civilian oversight. It's owned by the public, not the police. Which is actually formed under the Parliamentary Act. Parliamentary Act. Yeah, very independent, and it's civilian oversight, formed by the same people who are accusing us. Go to IPOA, dump all your evidence there. Let action be taken. This doesn't happen. So we are saying that's wrong. That's profiling police officers. Those are wrong narratives. Going back to the question, it is true we've been having forced disappearance. That's what you can call. I don't know if they are forced or whatever, because those are doubles which are maybe being. But from where you see it, we call them missing persons. Yeah, if somebody's missing, it's a missing person. That's the law. That's the position. So, if it's a forced disappearance again, that will be revealed by investigation. Yeah, because now those are motivations which are political. Those are issues that now will come with the issues of forced disappearance. But then, even assuming it's a forced disappearance, and I will say that those are armchair, lazy kind of accusations. The hard work is, putting some extra effort to understand what is a forced disappearance and how is it caused. What are the motivations for it?
Yeah.
forced disappearance, of course, state actors can be involved. That's, when we go into, what we call police studies, or scholarship. But equally, non-state actors can be involved. So why do you just jump to the state actors without, questioning, might there be a motivation by a non-state actor?
Okay.
And that's very easy. Start with the person who's missing.
So it doesn't have to be necessarily police officers.
It does have to be a police officer.
Okay.
And for you to accuse, first of all, start analyzing the person who's missing, their profile, and then who can be interested in them.
Yes.
Because for us police, our mandate and our interest in persons who have a crime is to arrest them through the law, take them to custody. You see, take them to custody. And then we take them to the judicial procedure through the criminal justice system. That's the only option we have. No any other option of forced disappearances or abductions. For which purpose? Okay. If you have if you have an interest in you, it's because you are criminal. So we shall arrest you and process you through the criminal justice system.
Is a police service bipartisan? Some politicians have been accusing police officers of being leaning to one side of the political divide or the other side, supporting which kind of politician and what have you. Are you bipartisan?
The long and short is no, we're not. And we're not designed to be that way, We are meant to be, and that's why we're part of the criminal justice system. Not that this system should be in the middle of justice, arbiters, yeah?
Yes.
So, the other day, we had young officers who passed away, who graduated from college, and there was an oath of service. I remember when I was there, so when that oath was recited by the officers, and it evoked my memories when I took my oath many years ago.
Oh, yes.
And, without fear or favor, it sits at the center of that oath. And it's not just something we are taught and expected to do. We take an oath over that. A solemn oath to be fair. And that's okay, and that's the essence of justice itself, is fairness, equity.
Yes.
So that's part of, the lazy thinking, where people just, because it suits them, whether you're a politician or you are whatever, and police, but the nature of our work, we can't please everybody. Because we come into the middle of people. Yes. We only come in a situation where we have to be in the middle of the people. There's a contest over something, you see? And of course, we shall make a decision that will please one, will displease the other person. So the other person will call you names.
Yeah.
So we are used to being called names, but it's up to us to just be professional, stick to the true lane, and do what we expect to do.
All right.
Yeah.
In your line of duty, police officers, in the recent past, we've seen so many cases flying around, and these perhaps can be attributed to cases of depression, lack of motivation at places of work. A classic example of what happened a week and a half ago at Kabete police station, where a police officer in Batu went on a shooting spree and a couple of people, 6 or 7, lost their lives. This is a clear misuse of firearm, which actually as a police officer should be used at when there's an imminent danger. But then cases of depression amongst the police officers. Does this worry you as an officer sitting in that office, and how are you planning to solve this?
It's really worrying.
Or rather the government.
It's really worrying, yes. And it even saddens us. At times even in itself, as we try to understand and solve those kind of issues again, we also get into the same, it's like a circle, vicious circle.
Yeah.
But as we are trying to solve those kind of issues, because they are so, so sad.
They keep on recurring.
Not even just recurring. They again make us, depressed. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You are trying to address a situation, but then it's affecting, grabbing off you, Yeah. So, but those are issues which are very regretful. We take them so seriously, and we take most of our time trying to see how we can sort out this, have solutions. But the main issue here, the elephant in the room, is the nature of police work, the nature of policing. And when you go to studies generally, let's put police aside. Generally, like in this room, I can see you out with your colleagues here. And studies say that if you are 4 in this room as employees of KBC, just though you are like 4 here, one of you is having a mental issue.
Yes.
At whichever level.
Study shows.
Yeah, and we're talking about elderly people, elderly Kenyan, elderly people in the world. Out of every 4, there's like 1 with having an issue. And you're doing the normal job, straight job, 8 hours, maybe the offs in between, breaks. I mean, I'm sure at the end of the day you are going to get, I mean, if you have done your work well, they give you some boost.
Kambuzi
kidogo.
Yeah.
Things that are not open to the police.
Yes.
Crazy hours we are working. Yeah. Only they say that police work is in the pits. That's the saying. It's in the pits. So we do some tough job, heavy lifting, where other people, when they can't do it, yeah,
that's when you step in.
That's when police step in. When we have those incidents like that you're talking about of, I mean, in Batu,
yes,
is 7-8 people may be dead. Is the officer who have to clean that mess, takes people to the mortuary, and these are guys who still have to go back to his family. When, I mean, the other day, I mean, in Baringo, I mean, an officer who was trying to do a good job, responding to a distress, an officer is losing his life. A day after that, another one, I saw the pictures, at night I almost cried. I mean, he has been shot. I mean, all the fingers are from the hand. These are father of kids and our husband of women. So that's ordinarily, I mean, that's our occupational hazards. We go through generally, day in, day out. People having the holiday like last weekend as we are working. So we are, I mean, we have that proclivity of, of being stressed because of the nature of our job.
But so do you go through counseling process?
Yes, so I'm just giving the background on why we are in that kind of a scenario. But then, now the issue of what you're calling the misuse of firearms. You see, so we are already talking about somebody now who is sick. And not just like any other Kenyan, but majority of them are sick because of the nature of the job, which they are doing for the betterment of the people.
Yes.
You see? And then on the other side, again, they're not getting any, I mean, any recognition from the people, yeah, any appreciation in terms of just like, I mean, but being bashed instead. You go through all this, but then the public is just having a quick eye to see the bad stuff you've done.
Right.
But not that great work of the guy who is in Baringo trying to move into those gullies and valleys and trying to look for the bad guys over there. Nobody's seeing that. So these guys end up being, I mean, stressed. And then you see, when you are stressed in that situation, and maybe you have to do anything, you'll use your tool of work.
Yes.
If you guys had a fight, I mean, a call in this studio, I'm sure you'll throw your mic at your colleague.
Mic and my pen.
Your pen, yeah. Those are tools of work, you know.
Yes.
So unfortunately, police, their tool of work 24/7 is a gun. And that's why these issues of misuse can be explained in simple terms.
Yeah.
That I'm not that, I mean, there was a gun anywhere, and the police wanted to, I mean, I had to go and look for it to know. Just because he's in a situation that he has to do something, he's vulnerable, and then he has a gun by himself.
Yes.
And then it has to be misused. So these are, I mean, the issues you have to understand. But then now, what are you doing about it? There's so much we are doing about it, so much, which is again part of the reforms. Actually, it's part of the main focus of the reforms.
Yes.
Apart from what you have mentioned already, like through those, I mean, initiatives like from Nakuru, of trying through the participation, bringing sports for officers to play with the people to distress.
Yeah.
We're having some, strategic partnerships with like Chiromo group of companies, I mean, hospitals. They're really supporting us in terms of, I mean, when you have those sick cases, we take to them, and they have turned around so many turnarounds.
Yes.
Within the police itself, again, and police, NPS, working closely with the National Police Service Commission, which is independent again. We have a framework actually under the leadership of the commission of I mean, chaplaincy and the guidance and the counseling. We've employed, I mean, so many, I mean, counselors. We have a new directorate of counseling. We've already now developing services to the counties. And we are now still work in progress. We try to perfect it, but we shall be there. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks thereabouts, His Excellency the President again is concerned about this issue.
Yes.
He just gave, I mean, instructions that I want a hospital like yesterday for officers, a referral hospital. As we are talking, go to our timeline today, this morning we posted, I mean, our work just commenced. In the next 8 months, we shall be having a fully state-of-the-art hospital where we shall deal with issues of health, issues of medical issues, and all other related, I mean, welfare issues of the officers.
Good progress there.
Yeah.
And this one brings to my attention. 1.5 weeks ago, actually last week, when we had a passport parade of the GSU officers, there was a video clip of the GSU officers who said some words that probably I cannot say. What is their fate as we speak?
Yeah, you know, these are officers already.
Exactly.
And they're subject to discipline. So what happened? I mean, we said in a statement that it was unacceptable. We don't condone this kind of behaviors, but we wanted to understand them fully. We wanted to understand the whole scenario fully. So right now there's an internal mechanism, in discipline review, which is ongoing right now. And some action will be taken in terms of discipline or whichever measures. I don't want to preempt what will happen, but the boys are still, these are young boys who are still studying them, we are talking to them, and we want to understand them and to know exactly what led to that and what is the befitting course of action we shall take. So action is being taken internally. I don't want really to dwell on it. I don't want to preempt the final outcome out of the inquiry. But Kenya should just know that we don't condone those kind of recklessness, and we shall put a stop to that in future. It will never happen. It's never happened. That's the first, and it will never happen.
And perhaps when you go to the social media, the comments when you look at how people are commenting, it's like a perception that sasa tumetoka tunakuja, some of them were papa. I don't know what papa meant, but when you look at when you listen to such kind of sentiments, and you just have new police officers coming out to serve the people, and such kind of sentiments are made, perhaps you can attribute that's why there's a very big gap between the police officers and the Mwananchi.
Yeah, it's understandable. Yeah. It's understandable that way. When those kind of, I know I'm saying we take a great exception to those kind of behaviors. But of course, I know the seniors of those officers, they are with them, trying to understand them, talk to them, and know what actually happened. And from what I'm gathering, so far, the boys uttered those words. But according to them, which is again not acceptable in a way, yes. But they were trying to warn the bad guys. You see,
we are coming for you.
Yeah, the bad guys. You've been disturbing the communities, and we are coming for you.
So we don't have to fear anything.
We can still not right. What you're saying is still not right. But the intention was not to scare the common nice person. Yeah, but you are saying still the same. We have no bad person, we have no good person until we bring them into the criminal justice system. So it was responsible, and we were taking action.
Allow me to ask this question. The UN standard of police officer to Mwananchi ratio should be 1 to 450. That's the standard. But in Kenya scenario, it's 1 to 1,150. That gap, if I get it right?
No.
What's the ratio as you speak?
Kenya, I think maybe, I don't know if it's, maybe we're number one in the world, I'm not sure, but we're doing better. We're below the UN
standard of 1
yes.
to 450.
Yes, we are below that. In fact, now, even before this passing out, where we are having maybe, so far we have over 5,000 who have come out.
Yes.
Because we're talking about the APS and the GSU, and we have more from Kiganja who are to come. So they might come a total of maybe around 7,000 to 8,000 thereabouts. But even before then, we were below that UN,
expectation. 45 million people.
Yeah, we were below that. We are doing really well. We are doing really well. And in all aspects of policing, I told you about the curriculum, we're doing really well. Now I'm telling you about the ratios, the quotas. We're doing really well. I don't have the specific numbers, but it should be around, close to around 430 thereabouts before this passing out parade. Yes, we were doing at around 1 to around 430 as by last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but the number is still going to rise.
There
in terms of police.
With now the new recruits coming out, we might even come to around 400 or 410 thereabouts. Yeah.
So allow me to ask you this question: whenever a police officer commits an offense, he or she will be quickly get transferred to a different station. Why?
Yeah, but to me, okay, let me not use the word common sense, but assume there's fire. There's a problem, there's fire somewhere. What do? You must remove something from the other,
Yes.
A quick reaction. Yeah? So we take those first measures. If you see a police officer can either build trust or mess up trust between not even between policing and the public, but even between the government, because police is the face of government.
Yes.
So we take very seriously their kind of behaviors so seriously, because they can impact on the general image of the larger government. That trust people have in government. Because when people wake up in the morning, what they want to see the policeman who's behaving well, who's doing his work well. When they see that, they see the government functioning. That's the face of government, whatever. So when a police officer does something wrong at a place, you see that trust deficit. There's a trust deficit immediately. So we first of all, we want to react to that first of all. It's just a reaction first to that. So So we take an officer from that place to a different place, first of all, just to make sure that we normalize the relationship between the government and police on one side and the public, so that then after that, it's not the end of it. We still follow through. We still now follow through. Just see now, is this still officer fit to serve in whatever is gone or not? And then we take other again, secondary. So that's just a primary baseline reaction to the problem. Then we follow it with a secondary solution, then tertiary solutions, so that at the end of the day, it's addressed in a holistic manner.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a comment here. There's a question here from Kibet, from Kapsabet, asking, is not wearing a mask an offense punishable by law?
It is. It is, unless, like for me and you, because we distanced and maybe in a controlled environment, in a public place, it is an offense punishable. So that's another question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm found walking around without wearing a mask, a police officer can take me to...
He can take, anytime, he'll arrest you. So I don't know why he's asking that question, but generally, and the guidelines are very clear. The CS always keeps on reminding people they are well published. It is, they are still in force. Yes.
Okay. Fine. I'll ask you this question. What's the welfare of the police officers as we speak to motivate them at their various places of work?
Yeah, welfare of police is being addressed again. Is one key issue again of police reforms. So much is happening from different fronts. Yes, on welfare, I've mentioned the issues of the mental health issues and the hospital. That's still part of our welfare issue. We make sure that our officers are well dressed, well turned out. Issues of salaries are keep on being reviewed of the officers to make sure that whatever they get somehow can sustain them and their families, for them to actually live to that really name of an officer.
Okay.
We say they're all officers, so they must look the part and be like the part. And so many other issues. We keep on talking to them to make sure that they're motivated, trainings all the time, promotions, you see, commendations when they're available, we give them on merit.
Yeah.
So there's so much happening. Housing, yeah, we have one of the robust housing, infrastructure, going on, and so many other things. Maybe I might forget, and but they're part of issues addressing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Allow me to ask this question. What are your hobbies?
Hobbies?
Hobbies, yes.
Whoa, that's a tough one.
What are your hobbies?
Maybe just one comes to mind. Only one comes to mind. Just reading.
Reading?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't play football?
Well, I don't. Because you spoke about the issues of the nature of police work. So I don't really have that time. Even I don't even watch football. I don't even watch because I don't have that time. So the little time I have,
yes,
maybe I'll watch news and then I'll get something to read, something to read and build me up.
Okay.
That's the only time I have, because again I have my family. But most of the time I have for the job.
Yes.
I'm in the office I wake up by 4:30 every day. By 6:30 I'm in the office. I leave the office. The earliest I can leave is after news. News, 7 o'clock news. That's around 7:30, 8. That's the earliest or beyond. So what time can I have for any other? I do have. I don't. Yeah.
What is your dream and aspiration in the position that you have right now as we speak?
Just to make a difference. And to see that I've made a contribution, a tangible contribution, concrete contribution that brings smiles to the cops that I speak for, and brings smiles to the faces of the public that we police. If I can see an officer and reaching out, like there's one we put on Twitter the other day, an officer, I don't know which station it was, who left his job at the report office just to feed a kid who could not feed himself because he was handicapped. They melt me, when I see that, they melt me.
Yeah.
So that's an attitude. I'll see that if I can contribute towards seeing officers being responsive, not just responsible, but being responsive to the people. And being responsive, they mean that I'm just giving those law enforcement solutions only. The reaction time, no.
Yeah.
Is just giving an ear. When I was the PA to the director of CID, I learned so much in terms of what the problem of the people are. It's not that somebody has beaten me up, take action, but it's because you can be able to sit down with me and listen to me, and understand my point of view. Because most officers will listen, oh, no, this one is a police way ender. This is a police. But if you just listened for some 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, then you will understand. And you'll get even a solution outside the law enforcement circle or outside the criminal justice system. You'll advise, you will, reach out. People will come to you, my kid is becoming a Trump, ameacha shule. And then usimwambia ati sio kazi ya polisi.
Exactly.
Listen to that, call that kid. Mwambie mimi nitakuchapa. And of course, because you are cop, mtoto anarudi kwa laini. That brings a smile to that poor mother. So we should be innovative, let's be creative in how we package our solutions to the public. Not just being strictly like, oh, book and paper, sheria imesema hivi, sheria imekata hivi. No. Let's be responsive to the needs of the people by being good listeners, but not speakers. Let's just listen more and see how we can meet in the middle. A problem half shared,
half solved.
Absolutely.
Promise me that you'll be back next time.
Anytime I'm there, that's my job. My full-time job.
All right.
Is talk to you guys and talk to Kenyans. Actually, you give me an opportunity to talk to Kenyans.
Thank you so much.
So I really appreciate you inviting me over here.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Asante sana.
Absolutely.
And to Kenyans, give us trust. Trust us. Give us that benefit of doubt. All police officers, wherever we see them, they're your servants. They are there for you. And we believe they'll give you the best they can. Thank you so much.
Best way to stop it. Thank you so much. We've been speaking to police spokesperson Bruno Shioso, just telling us some of the issues affecting the police officers and what you also need to understand as far as policing is concerned. Just briefly before we take a break, inform that the President Uhuru Kenyatta is around, will be opening groundbreaking ceremony for the proposed residential accommodation for the KDF services. That should be around to be in let me just get it right, in Roysambu military camp, and it will be happening right now. So once we have those are the live pictures from Roysambu. The president is expected there to open the groundbreaking ceremony for the proposed residential accommodation for the KDF service members. Okay, once that is done, we'll get you that live feed from Roysambu. Meanwhile, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Then?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You know you could be seated there, not knowing you're the newest millionaire in town. Want to know how? Visit ufaa.go.ke or dial *361# and find out if there's any unclaimed cash and other financial assets in your name. Labda umeomoka na ujui. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Kukasirika. Itafikia ule wakati tutakwenda zetu Dubai, sio hapa.
Wamaanisha huu ujauzito. Waona begi hapa?
Wakishaona kama yetu ndio reli. Kesi itakuwa imeisha. Hatuna haja tuende mahakamani tena.
Onelea mimi na wewe tutafute handwriting expert. Ndio ili tujue ni gani original ni gani fake.
Unakuja ofisini hujui kinaendelea nini, na unakuja unapiga na makelele tu.
important is the last trimester of a pregnancy?
This is when things get a bit hectic.
Do we still have red flags on the part of the red flag symptoms for the baby, the mother?
By 28 weeks, you have more or less a certain pattern of the way the baby is playing.
Experts say that the behavior of the mother affects the health of the child.
If you have a mother who's addicted to, say, things like heroin and cocaine, the baby is born addicted to heroin and cocaine.
Complications that may affect the baby if these risk factors are not addressed.
With the high blood pressure, it can even affect the placenta. Sometimes the placenta shares off.
You want to leave us with a to-do list for moms during this stage?
A to-do list for moms: birth plan, birth plan, birth plan.
And we are back. Thank you for still keeping us company this far. In case you are just joining us, karibu tena sana. We welcome you to the program. I am Jane Wamboy. We are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle ever remains to be at KBC Channel 1. Do talk to us, check in, let us know where you're watching us from this morning. We'd absolutely love to know that. Now, we want to move on to our next segment, and as we always do it every single Wednesday, as it is ladies' night, it is also ladies' morning here on Good Morning Kenya. We focus on women at the forefront, conversations about women breaking that glass ceiling that society put there for whatever reason we do not know. But we are here to just break down those barriers and bring to you phenomenal ladies that are doing grand, amazing things, as little or as grand as they may be. We are here to celebrate all that and, of course, bring them to you right here on Good Morning Kenya. And with us today, we have done exactly that. We have the pleasure of having one Priscilla Wachira, who is a nationally certified professional counselor and author as well. Good morning, Priscilla.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
How can our viewers find you on the socials?
So socials, you can find me on Instagram at Pris_Wamboy. And
you're called Wamboy?
Yes.
Just like me.
The best name.
My God.
Ever.
Stop.
And on Facebook, Wamboy Pris.
Wamboy
so I
Pris.
flipped them.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
Good stuff. So we want to know your journey, understand what it has taken for you to get to where you are today. So let's take a step back.
Sure.
Take us to your younger days growing up. How was life at home? Are you the first child, the second child, the last born? What was life like growing up?
So I'm the last born. I'm the baby. I'm Totoa mom. And growing up, so definitely taking it back.
Yes.
Moved to the States in 1997. So as a young girl, I think that transition was full of wonder for me. So my siblings had time to have some education, boarding school here, but for me, it was quickly a shift, right? And so moving to the States, I think I was able to kind of blend in very well, if that makes sense. But I think even in the blending process, I still knew that there was something different about me.
You're quite young at that time?
Yes.
All right.
So in that process, started elementary school, first grade in the States. And so my education literally began in the US. And hence why even the accent is there. However, I think it was during those times that I realized that that's where the struggle was beginning to happen. Because as I went into middle school, you're kind of going through that identity crisis, right? And as a teenage girl, my parents were very big on making sure that we maintained our culture. And so English was spoken outside of the house.
Yes.
And Kikuyu and Swahili was spoken in the house. However, for someone who was still struggling to kind of blend in. I want to say blend in, but I came to kind of throw that term away. In that moment, in that season, I wanted to blend in. And I believe it wasn't until my college years that I realized I have to stand out.
You had to
the
stand
blending
out.
is not helping me at all.
Okay. Now, allow me to just point out, you know, a bit of your background looking at the Akarino faith coming into play. Was that also part of the struggle, looking at where you relocated to with your family, and your family also trying to inculcate in you, you know, your roots, who you are, our way of life, this is how we have known life to be?
Definitely it was a struggle, and I would say high school. High school beyond college years was a major struggle, simply because you're in a locker room full of girls, you've played sports, they begin to straighten their hair, they begin to put their hair up. Eventually you start to notice, well, that looks nice, this looks nice. But I believe it was in those moments that God was really speaking to me, that you can desire what you're seeing, but sometimes those are the things that are detrimental to our walk. Your walk is different from mine. And so what I was desiring in that moment, God was saying to me, that's not where I'm leading you, and it's not going to grow you. And so, yes, accepting the fact of my kilemba is my crown. It is what makes me stand out. It is where, it's actually the place that God has chosen for me to flourish. And once I was able to accept that deeply, I would say towards my college years, then from there, twende kazi. It was...
But it definitely did take a lot of, you know, self-work, a lot of talking to yourself, and also just your family. And just looking at also the role that, you know, by virtue of you being a woman, being a girl, and getting to experience a different culture, and it is what you are growing up knowing, but back home, it's a completely different culture. What are some of the differences that you grew up visibly noticing about you as an individual, as part of the Akarino faith, looking at now this Western setup that you are in, and also getting to learn about your culture from the other side, and also looking at the fact that your siblings have had some experience about that you didn't have?
I will say, living in the States, you feel there's a normalization, I would say. Nobody knows that you are a Mokorino. So for them, it's there's that curiosity to want to know who you are, right? And I believe it's when coming back home, the stigma immediately, the walls go up. And I came to a point where I said, I'm going to stop justifying myself and begin educating. Because when you stay in that space of justification, it doesn't help either party. And having that humility, or I would even say compassion, to understand that some people only know what they know. And so it is my job to now pull them up and let them know that, hey, there's more to what maybe you've heard. So being in Kenya, that is where I would say I'm having to constantly educate. I'm having to constantly affirm and educate others in the faith, in Akarino, and what that means, what the kilemba means. And but I believe even the walk with God is the same as any Christian. God gives us all convictions. He may say, no jewelry for you, jewelry for another. And so the kilemba is a choice, a personal walk that you're surrendering your desire to God, to be different in this way.
It is very individual.
Very individual process. It's nothing that, yes, of course, if you're in the church and you see that, it's an environment that you see a lot of Akarinos. However, the message there is it's a personal choice.
Now, let me bring in the aspect of now being a young girl and eventually growing to the woman that you are today. Looking at the African setup, culturally, women come second. You are meant to be seen and not to be heard. And even in this day and time, we still have spaces where women struggle to just even be seen. In this 21st century. Looking at how you were brought up, and especially looking at your father, how did he represent or allow you as a girl, and even your mother, maybe you could tell us a bit about that, if you're comfortable, of course, sharing the space for a woman? What picture was brought up by your father or your male figures?
So my father definitely made the relationship with my mother teamwork. Yes, he led, however, he was leading and inquiring with her. So it was it was almost like a gas break type of, and I was able to see that, like you said, the aspect of being silenced. I never noticed that at all. A lot of the times it was mom saying, we need to reshift because what you might have thought to work well, I think this idea will work better. And so I would watch them literally navigate and negotiate and come to an agreement on a topic. And Dad definitely created an environment to where we could do anything a man could do. Literally, he said there was no limit. If a man can stand up and preach, so can you. If a man can stand up and teach, so can you. If a man can drive a car, so can you. If a man can lead a company, so can you. And he really taught us to take up space, but do so kindly, but don't feel guilty for taking up the space.
Don't feel guilty for, I love that. Don't feel guilty for taking up the space.
And also obviously with respect, because I know there is that aspect of, well, men, move out of the way.
I am here.
I'm here, I've come
Make
to conquer.
way.
Exactly. So there was that definitely balance of respect still, but my voice matters. And any moment that disrespect was served, you had every right to get up and leave the table. So that is definitely the culture that I grew up in and the environment that my father set for us. And another thing too is growing up and evolving in our careers as we grew up, my sister and I personally. One message he really instilled in us is Michelle Obama's quote. When you're invited to tables of influence, ask yourself, is there diversity here? You know, because sometimes we can get caught up in, I've been invited to this table.
You get carried away.
Yes, you eat from the buffet, but you have to stop and ask yourself, could there be other voices here that are significant and need to be heard?
All right. So fast forward in life, what influenced your career path? You know, looking at the fact that you are currently a nationally certified professional counselor and author, which we'll be coming to in a bit, but what informed your career path?
So, I had amazing friends. I always say, keep your tribe small, and within that tribe, have people that can correct and rebuke you with love. And so I had amazing friends in college that I was pursuing veterinary school. I was convinced that I was going to be a veterinarian. Biology was my goal. However, I could not pass organic chemistry. For those that are good at it, oh my gosh. Yes. However, that was the barrier, literally, to what I thought was my dream. And my good friend, Nyabura, she sat me down and she said, Priscilla, you're really good at getting to know people. You're really good at people just open up to you immediately. Have you ever considered psychology? No, I don't want to do psychology. But the more I saw that my grades are going from C to, oh gosh, worse, I realized I needed to shift. So I ended up declaring my major to psychology. I did my undergraduate in psychology. And when I tell you something clicked, I mean, my GPA was day and night when I switched, and I literally became enveloped in the material. And I realized that what we can see as our calling really isn't what we think. Perception, your perception is your reality, right? We have a perception of ourselves, and God has something so much bigger. And so when I leaned into that and switched my major, then I went to counseling. And for me, it was listening to people. Because I'm a firm believer that people heal the moment they feel heard. And a lot of times those safe spaces are not there. And so if I can be an advocate for those safe spaces, to me that was enough.
All right. And that clearly just speaks to the space that we are in as a global population. You know, this pandemic just blew the lid off when it comes to issues to do with mental illnesses and mental wellness as a whole. And there have been so many drivers that have come to reality that maybe they were there, but the pandemic just, you know, exacerbated the whole situation. And I'd like to just get to understand from where you stand. Let's talk a bit about some of these drivers. And one issue that has come to mind about so many people has to do with a lot of inner battles, a lot of inner wars that we tend to fight with ourselves. What do you make of all this? You know, looking at your background, of course, in the area that you have studied, and it being a big issue when it comes to mental illnesses.
So, starting with the pandemic forced us to be still. And a lot of people used external drivers to not deal with the internal issues. So work, meetings, Zoom calls, chai, meetups for coffee, you name it. However, the globe literally stopped. I mean, it froze, I would say. And people were forced to look within. When you're forced to sit still, those thoughts, we call them intrusive thoughts in the field of psychology and counseling. And I believe for some people, they had buried them. We call that suppression. And when we suppress things for a long time, those feelings will have to come out one way or another. And COVID has really highlighted that people were hiding, obviously, a lot of their mental disorders. Some people probably sought out to deal with their anxiety through overworking. And who knows, some people were depressed, but for them, just being busy, working that 8 to 5, making sure they're in every meeting, that was their coping mechanism. However, COVID has shown us that we obviously have very unhealthy coping mechanisms. And so in the mental health field, for us as counselors, we're really striving to encourage people to seek out mental health resources, to normalize that it is okay to not be okay. And we are all going through some form of, I would call it mental reform in our minds, whether that be financial, spiritual, physical.
All right. And how then would you advise guys go about handling social media? Because that is also another space that so many people turned to as a let out.
Yes.
Some, it was good, things went well, they got jobs, and hey, life moved on.
Yes.
But some, it also became a self-destructive way of going about and dealing with other deep-seated issues. Handling social media in a healthy way to just make sure that it's not another cause of any mental illnesses.
So social media is a powerful tool, as we all know. It can rise up or it can defeat. And I would say, for one, what we see on social media really isn't the authentic. At least for my handle, I would say, I want to speak from my reality. I strive to be as authentic as I can. And so that's what I would encourage people is, if you're wanting to be an advocate or to share, maybe you have dealt with depression and you want to share your story, there are ways to be an advocate for mental health. Maybe you were able to find a financial breakthrough and you want to share that. I think it's all about how you use the tool, and also noting that spending time looking at scrolling, after a while you have to something has to click and say, I'm going into a fantasy world. Because of course, we enjoy reels. That's the whole point, is to invite people into our world. And that awareness of knowing I'm in their reality, it doesn't have to be mine. That coveting aspect, I think, is making sure that people know that it's healthy to use social media. However, when you begin wanting someone else's life, that's where it becomes destructive. Or when you begin using it in a way to where you're not dealing with yourself internally, you're almost, in a sense, we call it word vomiting. You use it to just word vomit, but there's no true healing. So you've said all of this stuff, somebody made you angry, now what?
Now what?
And are those commenters for you? Find people that are for you. Maybe use that situation and encourage someone, but then go seek your healing somewhere else. It doesn't have to be in the spotlight all the time.
It doesn't have to be in the spotlight all the time. Now, let me take a step back to something that you just said, you know, wanting the reality of somebody else. And this brings me to the immigrant community in the States. We have, back home, when somebody hears that Ninaenda States, the people who get carried away and feel like, I have made it, I'm done with this Kenya, Ninaenda States, greener pastures, life will be good there. Tell us a bit about, you know, the mental space, and especially being an immigrant in that space, what you have gotten to experience, and why mental health also comes into play when you talk about that.
Yes. So for starters, congratulations to those that do make it. However, you will be quickly humbled when you do arrive. Simply, it depends obviously on the status that you're going in. For us, it was leaving with 2 suitcases, and mom was ironing clothes to make money. So for us, I've seen that trajectory rise to where we have worked hard for the success. And that is where also one's mental health takes a beating, because as you're working hard towards a good goal, reminding yourself that you are human, reminding yourself that this is just a piece of my journey to becoming, right? It's not a one-stop shop. And so I would really encourage people that go to the States to, one, find a support group, because there will be good days and there will be bad days. But the consistency is God is good. However, putting your trust, even if it's in that support group, whatever faith it may be, having that foundation that can catch you in those bad days is key.
It's important.
It is important.
All right. Now that brings me to this beautiful pictured book right here. Seated, My Journey to Becoming. Tell us the journey to getting to this place of actually getting this book, your journey to becoming an author. Where did that start from?
Yes, so first of all, shout out. My sister-in-law did the book cover, Cecilia Lassie. She is an amazing photographer. And so my process to becoming, I didn't even want to write the book. Let's start there. I never saw myself writing a book. I would remember sitting watching television.
It was never a random thought that you put in your diary or a random sticky note somewhere?
Nowhere.
Never.
My good friend, actually my publisher, Roy Kamau, he had posted that he had just published another book, another author, and I remember sitting there eating a tub of Bluebell ice cream and watching something on Netflix, and I said, oh my gosh, congratulations to them. And immediately I heard God say, it's your turn. And the walls went up. All of the things that you believe you've healed from resurface. So I'm like, okay, I really haven't healed. And I believe that in this journey to becoming, as I was writing the book, God really took me back to the places where I didn't think he was. So it was having like a deja vu moment. I'm writing in the present, but I'm seeing in the past where God was in those moments. And so this book, I really encourage people to lean into those stories of discomfort, because that's where your breakthrough is. And if you don't own your story, the enemy will use it against you. Society will use it against you. However, tap into that, because that's where that resource is.
All right. So whoever will be able to get a copy of this book, what is the one thing that you want them to learn from being seated and the journey to becoming and turning it into their own story? What is the take home for each and every person that will come into contact with this particular writing?
Yes. So one of my favorite quotes in the book is, don't rush to be seated. Don't rush to bring the table to you. In Psalms 23, when it says, he prepares the table before me, he prepares it. Sometimes we can rush and pull the table to us. However, I always say, will that meal even be delicious? Did you let it cook long enough? Did you let that blessing stay in the oven long enough? Did you let God mold you in that process? So don't rush to be seated.
Don't rush to be seated. Awesome. Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, you know, there's so many girls who are watching us today from different parts of the country, different parts of the continent, and they are looking at you and they're like, man, I want to do what she has done to get to a place where I can say I am healing or I have healed.
Yes.
What advice do you have for any person who is struggling with, maybe they have gone through a breakup, which is always a big trigger for many mental health, mental illnesses situation. You've lost a loved one, you're struggling in your career with your finances or just your relationship as a whole. What piece of advice would you advise our young girls today?
Very good question. Be you, be true. I know that is a cliche statement. However, your authentic self will speak louder than your fake self. And regardless of, first of all, let's speak about breakups. If someone left you, maybe you were not, for them, you were too much for them. One thing I've learned is surround yourself with people who can handle your weight. And that weight being the glory that, for me, God has placed in me. For you, what God has placed in you. And if people can't handle the weight, they were not for you in that season. If he couldn't handle you, bye. Because God will bring someone else. So, and remain authentic in that process. And another thing, too, is don't dismiss the crushing. Because there has to be a crushing season in order to grow. And I went through that. It was painful. You're wondering, where is God in literally this desert place? However, I believe it's in that crushing season that the good wine comes forth, right? The good fruit comes forth. So be you, be true, surround yourself with people who can handle your weight.
Be you, be true, surround yourself with people that can handle your weight. And we don't mean weight physically.
Please.
Not quite literally, you know?
Yes.
It's nice to carry once in a while, but hey. All right, now, how can our viewers also get in touch with you once again if they want to just have you give them advice or get in touch with you, know how to be able to get the copy? How do they do that?
So the copy is on Amazon.com. You can download the electronic copy through the Kindle app, and then you can have a hard copy shipped. Not sure what that looks like here, but most people have enjoyed the electronic copy. Social media, Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram, more than Facebook, but Instagram is Pris_Wambui, and then Facebook is Wambui Pris.
All right. So if you feel you have some questions that you want to direct to her on a very personal level as opposed to this national platform, we respect that. You can be able to do that, but be respectful. We always say DMs are very personal, so be respectful as you do that. Thank you so much for being with us today, just coming through to share with us your journey and allowing yourself to be a teachable moment, quote unquote, for whoever is watching us today.
Thank you.
All right. We have been speaking with Priscilla Wambui Washira. She is a nationally certified professional counselor and author as well. Seated, My Journey to Becoming. You can be able to just resonate and, you know, do some introspections, kakwa kona fikiria, and then, of course, never set camp in that pity party. That's what I always say.
Yes.
All right. But before we get to close the program, earlier on, before Victor winded up that discussion, we had mentioned to you that His Excellency will be gracing the groundbreaking of the Kenya Defense Forces Service Member accommodation, which is a public-private partnership at the Roy Sambu military camp. This is along Thika Road next to the TRM Mall. It, of course, His Excellency is already there, but they are expecting for the official groundbreaking ceremony to start. We have the images right there, so we will be leaving you with that live broadcasting to just be part of this beautiful moment as we get to ensure that our members of the Defense Forces are also catered to. For now, it is bye-bye. I'm Jen Wambui. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Hello and welcome to the inaugural segment of Tech One. But the intro aside, we move swiftly to looking at one of the advancements in technology of earphones. Those items that you plug into your ears when you want to listen to your favorite tunes and podcasts. What exactly is the evolution of earphones, and what are the current trends in what makes them a technological advancement? According to Counterpoint Research's latest global hearables market report, unit sales grew by 44% year-on-year during the first quarter of 2021. China showed the highest growth year-on-year, while North America continued to occupy the largest share.